Before we start our agenda, I would like to make an announcement that I am fully aware that the weather is not, well, we're not in Florida, that's for sure. It's snowboard or water flash, either one. And since the weather is bad, when you have finished with your item on the agenda, please feel free to leave. I would not want you, we have 30 items, and we have items on our agenda that have been on there since November. And tonight, we hope to complete this agenda. So when your item has been finished, please feel free to leave. We will not feel insulted at all. We want you to get home safely. So if you will, I would like to introduce tonight Mark Bouchard. Now he is a native of St. Louis, and he is an ordained pastor with the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. If you're not from Alstyne, I would like for you to know that Alstyne has the oldest Christian church in the state of Texas, and we're really very proud that we have a lot of folks in Alstyne. Mark has 2 master's degrees as well as a PhD in Christian education. He's also a published author, freelance writer, and most recently received advanced training in pastoral psychotherapy and spiritual direction. Mark is best known for organizing mission trips, community outreach, and his concern for the poor and the homeless. In Cleburne, he started a community-free food program called Heart to Heart. And in Killeen, Mark served on the board of the Christian Assistance Network. He's a single father with 1 child. His daughter, Leah Bouchard Walker, is a middle school science teacher in Clarksville, Tennessee, and is currently working on her master's degree in counseling. Her husband, Charles, just got back from deployment in Afghanistan in the U.S. Army. Mark is an avid reader, hockey and baseball enthusiast, and always enjoys a good movie. And may I add, a great congenial person to know. So if you will, please stand, and Mark will lead us in our invocation tonight.
Shall we pray? Eternal God, sometimes our lives are so rushed that we have a hard time remembering to be grateful. And even when we do remember, we don't always pause to say thanks. So help us to remember, oh God, all the things for which we are thankful. For our friends who make us laugh and keep us laughing at ourselves. For our families who you chose to be with us, sometimes for reasons we can't quite see. For our church family who invite us to connect with you in new and refreshing ways. For our jobs which help put food on the table and clothes on our backs. Lord, we're also grateful for our community, especially the fire, police, and EMTs who sacrifice life and limb daily for our safety. For our country, which gives us freedoms to be the kind of person we hope to become. And for the world itself, which you crown with your beauty. And also, O Lord, we ask that we would be grateful for the little things, for seeing a tree slowly change colors in the fall, for the surprising cold in the winter and the ice and the wind on our faces, for hearing a child's laughter on a sad day and seeing beautiful sunsets after a tough week. Help us to grow, God, in thankfulness for your Son, Jesus Christ, for he and he alone is the one to whom we owe our eternal thanks. For we ask these things in the name of our generous and loving Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please remain standing for our pledge. Councilwoman, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now our Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. We are not going to stay with the agenda tonight, as we have several items that we need to dispense with, but right now we are going to skip We have several of our firemen here tonight, and we want to make sure that they're back at their fire trucks before too long. So we're going to go straight to item number 19. Mr. Baker.
Okay. Mayor and Council, we've been with an interim chief since I took the city manager position for over a year. Captain Smith had stepped into that role January of last year as interim. The request of 2 council members were to go out for applications. We did. We received 4 in back, I believe, through the month of November, and 3 of the qualified candidates were sent through a panel of interviews, and overwhelmingly, the recommendation was to stick with the interim chief. I believe he's done an outstanding job. Going to do a great job for us. Going to continue to grow in the position, and seems to have the support of the community. So at this time, I'd like to recognize Chief Smith, Landon. Thank y'all.
Do you have any words of wisdom you would like to give us, Fire Chief Landon?
Very thankful for this opportunity. I really hope to serve the citizens in the department to the best of my ability. I think it's going to be a good time. I'll do my best job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next we have is citizens communication. Do we have any citizens communication? Okay, then the next item will be number 6, approval of minutes from January the 7th and the 21st, January the 14th, and January the 14th regular meeting. Are there any questions or corrections at this time that need to be made regarding any of these minutes? Councilman Jaska, do you have any corrections? Councilman Clay. Councilman Smith. Councilwoman Harlan.
I sent some to you, Jennifer, today. You got them?
Yes, ma'am.
Will they be incorporated?
I do have the request for the debt per capita. I looked that up, and that was asked about in the January 14th meeting that was here, so I can certainly add that.
Okay.
And then also in the January 14th meeting regarding the Palladium presentation, you wanted to add that is for residents 62 years of age or older, and
Yes.
I can add that as well.
Okay. And the wording of the,
On the January 21st, I can change that. I had it a certain way, and then Mayor Simon requested that I
sounded
change
goofy
it.
to me. Whatever.
Okay. Are there any other corrections or comments regarding the minutes? Then I will take a motion that includes them all
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
for January
or
this.
the things on the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Next, we have item 7. Item 7 is consider and take any action necessary regarding recommendations from the Water Committee relating to an extension policy, rate implementation policy, leak adjustment policy, state of intent to change rate, and rate and charges policy, name change policy, and reading meter procedure. Recommend that all of the above be included in one ordinance, Ordinance 699, plus list price of charges and deposits. This would eliminate all previous ordinances regarding this in their entirety. Also, it would include the utility rate. You have separate from your packet, you were given a copy of the different recommendations from the council that included all of the above mentioned. At this time, are there questions regarding this? Or do you need a few minutes to look it over? If these are approved, then legal will have to approve them.
I do have a question for legal.
Okay.
The combining all of these into one ordinance, what, is that going to complicate anything when it comes to redoing the rates whenever all of this is, will we just, you know, in the future at some point, whether it's this year or 10 years from now, at some point rates are going to get changed. How's that going to affect when we have this much into one ordinance?
Well, if the rates are in the same ordinance with all of the policies and rules and things that you want to apply, then whenever the rates get changed, you kind of open up the entire ordinance for discussion, versus if you have the rates in one ordinance by themselves and everything else in another ordinance, then you don't have to bring up the kind of the master ordinance. You're just bringing up the ordinance that only has rates. But it's lawful to do it either way.
Right now, the rates are listed in ordinance 699. Okay. Are there any other questions regarding this?
Does this address the minimum value for 2-inch meters?
That is going to be, if you look on page 2 of this, at the bottom, we have the things that are listed for those in the audience is a statement of intent to change the rate. And it so states, whereas the city of Alstyne may not make changes in its rates except by delivering by mail a statement of intent to each customer at least 30 days before the effective date of the proposed change. The effective date of the new rate must be the first day of a billing period, and the new rate may not apply to services received before the effective date of the new rate. The statement of intent must include billing comparison of the existing base rate and the new base rates for water meter, sewer, and sewer meter rates. The next item on this is rates and charges. When payment due, all bills for utility services furnished by the city shall be due and payable in full on the 15th of the month or before the open of business on the 16th, provided, however, that if such date shall fall on a Saturday, Sunday, or a legal holiday observed by the city, then such bill shall be due and payable by close of business the following business day. Bills paid after their due date shall have 10% added to the gross outstanding bill. The city shall be entitled to collect a service fee of $30 for all checks given in payment for bills for utility services or charges that are returned unpaid. The next is disconnection for non-payment, and the committee agreed on it the same as it stated in Ordinance 686. Reconnection after disconnection, same as Ordinance 686. Name changes, death of a family member, death of a spouse, or the surviving spouse when not on the account, the customer submits a copy of the death certificate. The city collects the necessary ID information to change the name on the account. There is no charge for this type of change. Death of a family member, the city presented documentation showing the executor of the estate. This serves as proof as to who has the authority to assume the account. They may change the mailing address at no charge. Also, if they wish to add their name in the attention field of the mailing address, there is no charge. If they wish to start a new account, there is a $15 charge name change fee. And at the time, there was a question by one of the men on the committee as to what would be if you wanted to, the name was in one person and you wanted to add your wife's name to that in an and/or, and it was stated that that could be done at no charge whatsoever. The next thing is reading meters, which would be the same as ordinance 446, section 117. Any municipal utility meter shall be reread upon complaint of the consumer, and when the meter is found to have been correctly read originally, the complaining consumer shall pay a fee of $5. Any municipal water meter shall be taken out and tested upon request of the consumer, and if, upon test, the meter is not within 3% of being accurate, it shall be repaired or replaced, and the water bill adjusted appropriately up to a maximum of 3 months. If, upon test, the meter is found to be within 3% of the accuracy, the consumer shall pay a fee of $35. Note, it was noted at this time by Mr. White, he stated that it was illegal for consumers to turn their water off. This brought forth several objections. He stated that the city should be called to turn the water off even in an emergency. Next were charges and deposits. These are to be provided by our water clerk. Next, utility payment extension policy. The committee recommends that 4 extensions be changed to 2 extensions. Leak adjustments, the first paragraph, only 1 adjustment be made in a 12-month period. It was suggested that that be changed to only 2 adjustments be made in a rolling 12-month period. How is the adjustment calculated? Change number 2 to read, the average usage costs are calculated according to the applicable rates. Sewer be according to prior 3-month average. And then there is, if you will turn to 3 more pages, in the leak adjustment, there is a couple of more changes that were there other than the 2. And then in the second paragraph, the process typically takes 60 to 90 days. I believe, Shay, that was a 30-day billing period, changed to a 30-day billing period. And then under how is the adjustment calculated? An average, let me see yours. I didn't get mine correctly, just yours. How the adjustment is calculated. Number 1, an average usage is determined by reviewing the account history, and it would be added for 3 months prior. Number 3, excess usage, all usage above the average, is then calculated at the lowest rate of the current rate scale. The sewer cutoff at the average rate. Historical rate. Then next we have the adjusted rate changes and the refund to the consumer. The adjusted rate changes, the committee suggested that the city go with the rate changes that were recommended by Councilman Moore, which there is a copy of it in the little packet that you received. These were the rate changes without changes. The last one is refund to the consumer. Their recommendations first was that the billing clerk take the amount and size of meter and apply to a flat rate refund on their bills. Tonight we have 2 spreadsheets that have been prepared. One is by Lynn McManus, and the other one is by Robert Jaska, which they will both be presenting to the council. Also, the committee did not recommend a financial hardship policy. So at this time, before we get to the rate change and the refund to the consumer, are there any questions up to that point? By council. The board. Councilman Flynn.
I think I do, but I just gotta get to them.
Okay.
I gotta find them.
Councilman Smith.
Okay, this page that's in here shows for the smaller meters. Have we made any adjustments to the 2-inch meters on the flat rate?
No, sir, there's no recommendation.
No recommendation has been made at this time. Any questions?
Yeah, I have quite a few. First of all, I think that before we go forward with approving or discussing the rate change, that we should consider also the different meter sizes and have that available for the council as well as the public. In the leak adjustment policy, it was my understanding that the committee was looking at a no sewer charge for the overage of the water that is used, because it's, you know, not going into the sewer, so there should not be a charge on the excess. On agenda items number 7, the recommendations, the leak adjustment policy.
That falls under number 3 under the leak adjustment policy, where the committee recommended excess usage, all usage above the average is then calculated at the lowest rate of the current rate scale with sewage cut off at a historical rate.
And what is the historical rate?
The history for the customer on what they've been charged to.
So they will, so for the overage,
Goes back, looks at their history, what they typically use for sewer, cuts it off.
okay, so they will not have an excess or an extremely high rate to pay at any point?
It goes back to their historical average of what they pay for sewer, and cuts it off right there.
Okay, so then my next question comes to the hardship portion of that. I think the way I'm understanding it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is the individual, the customer, the citizen, a homeowner, business, whatever, will have to pay for the excessively high water bill caused by the leakage, and they will have to pay that within the billing period, or is there a delay in payment?
They identify, if a leak is identified, and you're confusing the issue. The hardship policy is strictly for people that suffer a hardship that's outside of the leakage. The leakage goes back to the historical average, and that's what the committee recommended. The committee didn't want to entertain the hardship policy. They didn't recommend bringing it back to council.
I agree. I was vehemently against that as well, but what I'm referring to is some of the people had to pay, have had to pay $1,000 and then only get credited or refunded after all the bills came in and everything else. My point here is that there should be a stop to, you know, that they not have to pay this excessive water fee until it's settled. And that would mean either a payment plan or some sort of an agreement that they do not have to pay up front and then have it refunded later, because not everyone can come up with $1,000 or $1,500 all at once. So that if there is a leak and it is identified, that they not be charged or required to pay that overage amount until the thing is settled.
Are you saying that they would come in and determine, I mean, they would get their bill,
Mhm.
They wouldn't know whether they had a leak or not yet. The city wouldn't know whether they had a leak or not yet. And then they would go back and determine, well, I think I got a leak, and then they'd go call somebody and have them come out and look at it and determine, yeah, you got a leak, or something like that. And at that point, they would have already paid the water bill, actually have paid it before. Right? Is that, and you're saying you don't want them to have to pay their water bill even though they don't know they might have a leak? I'm trying to just get them together.
What I'm trying to say is that if someone has a normal water bill of $100 a
Right.
month,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden their bill is up to $1,000, that they not be required to pay the $1,000 until it is settled that there is a leak and that it'll be repaired, and rather than them have to come up with $1,000, which most people just can't,
Right.
dig into a pocket and pull out $1,000. But that we have a plan, or to me that is a hardship, but not, as a result of age or food stamps or anything like
I think if
that.
you're saying that the only person on the block that's water bill went up to $1,000 was one person.
Yeah,
But that wouldn't match up with what we did when we raised the rates. That wouldn't have anything to do with that.
no, I'm not dealing with raising the rates
Yeah,
in that situation. It's if there is a leak and they see the water bill, they call a plumber, it's
Yeah.
going to take several, we have up to 3 months or 3 billing periods where that can be rectified. But to ask the citizen, the homeowner or business owner to pay that excessively high amount is, to me, not fair.
I can see that.
And that it either, a payment plan or a pay the normal, what is a normal rate until it is determined, and then only settle up afterward. But I just think it's too much to ask them to pay all at once if there's a leak and they're just finding out about it through the water bill.
Well, would that be a
That would
point in
be-
time that you would take it to the person who could come in and take it to the city manager and say,
Yeah,
I think I have a leak.
Yeah.
Can I not pay my bill or pay my usual bill?
right.
Go ahead and pay my usual bill until I can get it determined whether I have a leak or don't have a leak.
Yeah, some plan like that, I
Do
think
we have
needs,
anything with help with that now?
Wouldn't that be an addition that we would put in when payment is due? That would be another provision that would go under that.
okay. Mhm.
And it would need to be, it would either be under when the payment is due or leak adjustments.
I mean, you can modify the policy that legal put together. I mean, it's certainly up to council.
If that's something the council would like to see added.
All I was stating was exactly what the committee had recommended bringing back to council.
Is that something you would like to see added to this?
Yeah, I have no problem.
Mayor,
Yes.
in ordinance 446, I believe it states, and I'm not sure what it looks like on the new bill, but on the old bills, it used to say on the back that if you dispute any portion of your bill, you would do that in writing to the Public Works Director, and any undisputed portion would need to be paid timely. I don't know if that kind of sounds like it fits what you're saying, like, normally my bill's 100, now it's 1,000, I'll pay 100, and when we figure out where the other 900 goes,
Yeah.
we'll do what we need to do, right?
Or when?
So maybe we could take that portion of 446 and incorporate it into the new.
Okay,
And
something
we
to-
have 446 in there now.
Right.
Could we not just add that to it?
Well, it sounds like you're saying it's already in there, right?
Yes,
Saying
it's
that you
in
covered.
446, yes.
Well, right now, it doesn't per se apply to leaks. It just
Right.
thinks if
Dispute.
there was something wrong with the meter or you dispute
Okay.
that you use that much water.
Okay.
If you had a leak, you're not disputing that the water came through your meter. You're just
That's
getting
right, yeah.
a credit because you
Yeah.
had a leak to
Yeah.
help the citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fair enough to me. So if it's a meter problem or a leak problem or some other problem with the water.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Yeah, not quite finished.
Okay.
I would like to include in that death of a family member the vision that Mr. Flannery had suggested at our committee meeting, water committee meeting, that we be able to add at any time names.
That's under there, ma'am. It's under the name change policy, the recommendation. There wasn't a recommendation, but we did state that customers can authorize for multiple people to be on.
Okay.
Does it state that there would be no charge?
There's no charge attached to putting multiple people on that account. Is that
Okay,
true?
so as long as multiple people can be put on it.
If then you need to say there's no charge?
Yes, ma'am.
In the ordinance, at the very beginning, where where you have the Citizens Committee suggest the statement of intent to change rates, I'd also like to include the statement or statements that a copy of the statement of intent shall be mailed or delivered to each citizen receiving a water bill or any business or entity affected by this regulatory change. Notice shall be posted at the City Hall and printed in the local newspapers. And then if there is a complaint to the proposed rate changes by 5% of the citizens, the city may suspend the effective date of a rate change for not more than 90 days from the proposed effective date to allow for a hearing of the citizens. The hearing may be informal if after the hearing the rates being charged or those proposed to be charged are unreasonable or in violation of law, the City Council shall approve new rates. But allow an opportunity for a hearing of the public rather than just going forward. If you'd like to see a copy of that.
We did a public hearing, Mayor, whenever we're finalizing the budget. What we discussed in the committee meeting was when we're in budget workshops, post the dates on the new billing statements. That way the public is informed. You do get it mailed to your house. That's the advantage of the new billing system, as well as the mayor's newsletter. And that way you're more informed. You know when our workshop dates are planned to be, as well as when the implementation of the new rates shall take effect. That way there's a hearing involved, and that's already by law. Is that right, Julie?
You have to have, before doing the budget, you have to have hearings.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a recommendation that this be added. Do I need that in the form of
I'm going to follow what you've got or what was presented by the committee.
Okay, we need a recommendation whether we follow what was recommended by the committee or if we add this recommendation on the water code that has just been stated by Councilwoman Harper.
And that is right out of the, basically right out of the Texas water code, this section, whatever.
Okay, and all of this deals only with the intent to change the rate, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, this is pretty much already, actually has it, not quite as detailed, but where they suggest 10,000 and 30,000 gallons of water. I had included 5,000, the comparison for 5,000, 10,000, and 30,000. It's this down here.
You need to look over this.
I'm not favorable of it, so.
Okay, you need to look over it.
I mean, I feel like we're doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like we're already.
We're doing that a lot.
Have sort of the function, so.
Well, at this time, though, is there a motion that we include this intent to, this in the intent to change rate.
Yeah, the top part is
The
basically,
last three paragraphs.
yeah, the last 3 paragraphs, that there be,
Okay. Is there a motion?
well, I move that we include it.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in, did you have?
That's one.
All of those in favor, please raise your hand. 3 opposed, 2, motion passed.
Mayor, could I get clarification, just so I could get it correct in the drafting of the ordinance? Is that 5% of the number of water customers or 5% of the
Changed by 5%
citizens?
of the citizens. I assume, is that for water customers?
Yeah, the customers, businesses or,
Someone with a water utility account? Is that-
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
How do they make this protest? For
You'll
5%
have
of
to,
people?
you'll have to put it on the agenda. That's all I know. I'm not sure.
I was wondering how.
I know. The next thing that we have
5%
is the adjusted.
I had one more thing on the water.
Oh, okay.
Before we go on. A few of the citizens came to me and said, can we do yearly averaging, like so many of the utilities do, that you pay so much, the same amount over a 12-month period and settle up at the end of the year, either a refund or an additional charge, because for so many of the people on a fixed income, it's difficult to have the high numbers, the low numbers, just like, you know, air conditioning and heating, that it be a same amount until the end of the year.
We have a suggestion that the council adopt a policy on yearly averaging. And at that time, when it would be done, and this would be a set rate that would be paid each month. Am I correct?
That is correct, a set
It
amount.
would be a changing amount, right?
No, it would be a set
Like your
rate.
gas rate, it's a changing with every month.
You
It's
can
a
also,
yearly average, but it's not setting every month.
yeah,
Electric is not
some,
the same.
some-
Electric, I've had averaging before, it also was not the same. It didn't vary as much, but it went up in the summer and went down in the winter. The electricity did, the water did, and the gas did the same thing with opposite time of year.
oh,
It looks to me like if it did not change, then there is a possibility of overcharging and undercharging. If you
Yeah,
say
it's gonna
you're
be
gonna
way
pay-
off by
If you're gonna
the year.
say you're gonna pay so much
$1,000
every
a year
month,
to catch up.
and then you use a lot of water, you never use it.
Right. Does our billing system handle something like that automatically?
No.
What do you do if somebody moves out or turns their account off in the middle of the averaging? Do they have to?
it would, whatever they owed, or, you know, they would have to pay before they leave town or get it back.
Would that not be double billing, because you know what they owed, and then what they were gonna, that set rate was going to be, I don't.
I don't believe.
I said, this,
I don't believe there's just like that's like that. I'm positive about all of this.
you can do an average. Some of the utilities, some, the citizens, and it happened to be senior citizens who spoke to me about this as I was going into City Hall, and they were coming out from paying their bill, said, can we do something where we know exactly, you know, each month what we're going to have to pay? And I said I would bring the idea forward. I thought it was a worthwhile fodder idea to consider. So they would pay, they would know what they're going to pay each month, and then at the last month of the year, if there's a refund, they would get that, or if they used more, they would have to pay up there at that time. So it's for a 12-month period.
Then at this time, I guess, did you say we could not do that on the bill? Where is Shane?
Does our billing system do that?
No, when I logged us the protocol about this, because it was brought up in the meeting that we had, they said our system does not do that. People overpay all the time, and they leave credits sitting on their account so that it accommodates 4 times whenever they use a little bit. But our system doesn't have that capability.
Okay. Okay. Then the next we have the adjusted rate change for you to consider. Yes. All right, consider and take any action necessary regarding the utility rates established by ordinance number 699. And also the recommendation of a refund to the customer was made by the
Are we not going to consider the 2-inch rates at all? Or just to leave it up?
I'd like to know, with these numbers in the spreadsheet, did it adjust, it shows the 2-inch rates. Did it adjust them automatically? Did they go up or go down, or what happened to them?
I believe those are still fixed because of the way you built it out.
Well, it was billed to be part of something else, wasn't
It was.
it? Based on something else happened, but it's fixed, I think, it doesn't change.
The base rate pretty well stays the same based up. Again, the base rate is based on the total blanket. And then it's divided by the number of meters for the prorated based on the size.
So it doesn't adjust it.
Yeah, it does.
It's just the automated Texas.
I'm gonna check it. Is that?
I'll show you.
Okay.
I know the biggest problem was the school, I think, at the time. What
It's
other,
the high end.
what other
The high end.
industries were
But it was
also
still
there?
their volume.
Apartments.
Apartments?
And
Their problem was in their volume. It wasn't their base rate, it was just the volume of water. We had the dollar amount per gallon was so high.
really was the fact that they were not regulated to us doing the water.
And new-
Very good. Thank you very
new
much.
base rate put everything in capture type of business.
Explain how that
Yeah,
works.
go ahead.
Yes, will you please, Lynn?
I sure will. How the base rate, as you see, the equivalent meters in the second yellow column, 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 as they go down. There is a volumetric ratio that's given to each of those meters larger than the 3/4 inch meter that goes out. With the 3/4 inch meter given an equivalency of 1, a 1 inch meter produces 2.5 times more water, so it's got a 2.5. So what this does is it takes the number of connections times the equivalency factor and figures if you go up a little bit, Jennifer.
You want me to go up?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's at the bottom, I think. Yeah, there's an equivalency factor of, we have a total number of 1,332 meters, but on the equivalent rate, it comes out 1,682. So on the water side, what it does is it takes the entire budget that is on the previous page, the water budget of all the items, divides what is needed to fund that by 1,682, and then multiplies it by the equivalency rate up there to set up the base rates for a 2-inch meter, 1.5 inch meter, and so forth. Which, if you go back up, Jennifer, please. So the minimum bill is $38.77 right here for a 3/4 inch meter. Then 2.5 times that will be the $96.92. So it's all set up in ratio to this volumetric proportion that is set up by what those meters will produce. So that's what gives you the base rate for the 2-inch meter, the 3-inch meters, and the 1.5 inch meters. It's all based on a volumetric.
You say it comes based on the 38.77? I mean, it's on
On,
2.5,
yes.
5 times that, 2.5,
Yes, sir.
or 2.5 times that would be the
Yes.
number.
Yeah.
Okay, Where does this number come from, 3877?
3877 is taking the total budget for the water, which is $782,000 that's in the water budget, the line items that are total for the total budget,
Okay.
and then dividing it by the equivalency meter number, which is that 1682 number.
Okay.
The total, okay, so it's a volumetric
Okay.
proportion
Okay.
to rate that out.
What's the maximum gallons, dollars per gallon that a 2-inch meter would pay under this proposed budget, newly proposed budget?
Well, the base rate, yeah.
So it's going to be
Yeah, you-
35?
Well, we gotta go back, we gotta go back to it, because we don't have the 2-inch on this. The 2 inches.
Well, it would have a different
Yeah,
base
it's the
rate.
base
Yeah, the different base rate, but the volume
The
stays the same.
volume
The
stays-
quantity's the same. The quantities all act the same after you get past the base rate.
So the guy with the 2-inch meter would get less charge than what he had before, but it wouldn't be because his first charge was the same.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because to do the budget, that your fixed costs are your budget. So you've got to pay for your budget with your base rate, and then the volumetric.
The 2.5 and the 8, and the equivalency numbers, where do you get those from?
Those are industry standards for.
Change the industry standard?
Huh? Can we change?
Change the industry standard for ours?
Well, I mean, theoretically you can, but I mean that's typically how those meters are produced. Now, also in that budget, just so is our average what the consumers have typically spent times the base rate volume to come up and pay for that full budget. So, I mean, there's a base rate for the minimum charge, and then there's a volume base rate charge. You know, we don't have a minimum charge in the base rate. You know, there's not a minimum. The first 2,000 gallons are free or something. If you ended up putting that in, that would change this number here. We're still coming out. We still have to fund the entire water budget of $1.1 million. It's just where do you want to put the?
What would happen if we changed that 8 to a 7? As far as the numbers are concerned? Just the numbers here would change, or
Yeah.
the numbers all over the place would change?
Just the numbers here would change. The volumetric change. Well,
Could we try that? Is that just a fed-in number?
Yeah. Okay, look at the number before you change it, though. You got 310
Well, I
as
just,
your base number and
16.
3877, because what you're going to do is affect everything above it.
Okay, I'm just saying, change that 8 to a 7, just a second, for a second. See if it does anything.
It didn't.
Is it
It
fixed?
did.
It's fixed, it's not done.
Oh, okay.
Oh, those are numbers are fixed?
Okay, well, that's the part that Philip did. I've been manipulated to where I changed one of the numbers in yellow on the second. If you go to the last page, the numbers in blue, go back and adjust the budget. We could do that, but I mean this is just volumetric, because for instance, a 3/4 inch meter will produce about 20 to 25 gallons a minute, where a 2-inch meter can produce 150 to 200 gallons per minute. So that, I mean, it is an 8-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
I think where departments and the school were concerned in our existing budget, they were paying over $12 per thousand. Is that correct, Frank? I mean, it was.
On the higher end, they're paying
So
$9.
much.
$9 per thousand
So
gallons.
moving that to nearly half.
Right.
But the school, Dr. Spees talked about $500 a month without any usage.
I think that if Frank and them went out and got something, they went to work with the school about getting some of their meters turned off.
They did an inventory.
They did an inventory of things they didn't need to have.
They went off the irrigation.
Now we're starting charging like zero.
Okay, one at a time.
Did it?
Who's in charge? One at a time.
Frank, will you explain what they decided to do,
They did
please?
an inventory of the meters, and they decided that the irrigation meters they would like to turn off during the winter. We agreed to that. They've shut them off. They're not incurring that base rate on the irrigation meters.
But there are still people paying $500 a month base rate for a 2-inch meter.
They're paying
There are other businesses, and there's there's fire meters as well.
Well, where did, in all the charts that we've seen, where our base rate for a 2-inch meter was $500 a month? Dr. Spees talked about it. It was talked about with the people that were.
It must be the 3-inch meters are
Well,
$500.
that was the water side, then you had the sewer side, so.
There's also water.
Well, okay, the water side's 310. If you add the 2-inch for the sewer, excuse me, you add the 2-inch for the sewer, you add 171 to that, so you're up near $500. It's about $490.
That's where we have the biggest run, is the 2-inch meters. That's what's caused more commotion than anything, other than the retroactive billing.
I have a question here. I have a question here is, what does it do to the budget when 2 customers turn off 2-inch meters?
Revenue's reduced.
Doesn't do anything to the budget. I mean, the budget is kind of the guidelines that you're going to.
Yeah.
It affects your revenue coming in to meet that budget. So at the end of the year, you might have to do some of the budget adjustments to make that happen. But I mean, that's.
So the irrigation meters are being charged in sewer rates as well?
No.
So the 500 is going to be strictly on the 2-inch meters that he has that are dedicated to facilities for consumption.
What's your base rate? What was your base rate for?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
What was your base rate
Before,
now?
now, you know, honestly, my bill doesn't show my base rate. I do not have that documentation here. But are you asking my water rate? Are you asking my sewer base rate? What are you, I mean?
The water and the sewer base rate. What do you?
It
what
was
do you-
never broken
What are
out
your
for me.
expenses before you turn on the faucet?
It was never broken out for me. But I mean, it was, I can find it. I don't have it here for you.
They're listed on the website, on our website,
Yeah.
so I can look them up really quickly.
And would you please identify your name and who you represent
Sure, my
for the
name,
minutes?
absolutely. My name is Jenny Hampton, and I am area director over Hackberry Park Apartments in Alstyne, which is this 2-inch meters. I have 2 2-inch meters on that property with 36 units and then one water. And I'm sure as we all know how it negatively affected me when I did talk in the meeting, but my water has not changed. My bill has been consistently $4,000 less. When it was $1,500 to $1,600.
Do you have that rate?
Yes, ma'am. The 2-inch base rate for water is $321.89, and then sewer is $183.
So not much change.
Comes to 504 a unit.
You're saying, where's our right now?
The base rate right now, yes, sir.
Or what?
321.89
321.89.
183.
and
That's just for
183.
water.
Is that different than what's up here?
Yes.
Then
This is the new budget.
This is
No,
proposed
she
rate.
has the old one, so we are making it less.
The new budget.
A little.
Yes, a little.
The new rate.
The new rate.
The new rate.
The new rate would make it less.
In comparison to what it was, you don't recall what it was, huh, before the rate change?
I honestly know that it was the water rate increase. I mean, there was an increase in base rates for water and sewer, but it wasn't as significant as the water increase impacted the bill.
The consumption.
Yes,
about
thank you,
consumption,
Jennifer.
yeah.
The consumption increased, yeah.
So this new proposal for the 2-inch meter is 171 for water, and how much for sewer?
300.
The sewer is $171.26, and then water is 310.16.
Okay. So we haven't changed the 2-inch meter read.
It's gone down a little bit.
But before I turn any water on, it's about $1,000 just to sit there.
And how many 2-inch meters do you have?
2.
You have the 2?
Yes.
Who has the 3-inch meter?
I think that's the standard.
Or can we say? Can't say.
Okay, are there any more questions regarding item 8?
Did you see the new water rates?
I briefly did see them. I would like to, I'm sure everybody would like to see them.
Okay. Can we put up the proposed new rates?
Each of the rates that we proposed.
The top is what
Committee.
is currently and the bottom is proposed.
The top is the rate that was in effect when we were working on budget, so this
Yeah.
prior to October 1.
And then the rates, we don't have a copy of what was changed by budget, where it went up to $7, $8, and $9.
This is what is currently the rate.
Okay.
So we dropped the top end from 89% down to, what was it? 25, 4, 5?
Sure, all businesses will appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding the proposed new water rates? Is there a motion
Is that motion?
regarding this?
Or is that on the second?
I have the refund here that it would be in 2 issues. I have it back here with the recommendations from the council, that they did recommend a refund to the consumer, and that the billing clerk takes the amount, size of meter, and apply to a flat rate refund. I think we'll do this 2 separate ways.
Okay, so this one.
This one is just the proposed new water rates.
Make a motion, we accept the new water rates.
We have a motion by Councilman Flake. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Moore. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I do have a question. Now, this is just for the 3/4 inch, or does it also include what
This is for
was
the new water rates that were.
also what was just put up there that we do not have a copy of, right? Of the,
You have a modified copy.
oh, yeah, that, but,
That's the one.
right,
Yes.
but I'm looking, that is only for the 3/4 inch, right?
My motion was for all rates.
For all of the rates.
All rates is determined by the.
We don't have
The
what,
committee brought back in.
they didn't do anything. They only looked at the 3/4 inch. And tonight was the first time we saw anything with the 2-inch meters and a reduction there. So I would like to, before I vote on it, I'd like to see it in writing what Len had proposed there with his,
That's the refund, yeah, the refund is a different.
no, not the refund, what you just had with the 2-inch meters.
That's incorporate, the rate table that you're looking at has those equivalency factors already in there. So when you adopt the rates that you're talking about are volumetric rates. You're not talking about the base rate is set based on those volumetric quantities. So that's part of the math. When you're doing the rate change right now, what you're doing is changing the incremental block rates.
Block rates, okay.
Okay, so
All
that
be the same.
And
Is that clarification correct, Mr. Lane?
you still don't want to, Billy, you still don't want to see what it would be if they change it from 8 to 7, or?
I don't see any way we can do that.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we have a motion at this time and a second.
When would you like it to be effective?
Yes.
oh, but I'd like it to be effective.
15.
Since
15th
it's
last
gonna be-
month.
This is an unusual case. This is just the opposite. This is, we're going to be saving people money, so probably the sooner we can make it effective, the better, right?
Should we make it effective the first of the month?
Even though what we're doing the wrong, well, it'll depend on what we write on this other rule. If we accept this other regulation, then that will change when it has to go into effect, right?
Should it be after, the meters are read on the 15th? Should it go in effect after that?
And following,
The
The
following?
policies,
March the 1st.
as Billy's saying, the new rules say 30 days from the date.
but
So-
those rules aren't effective until we bring an ordinance back and
Right,
you
right.
vote on the ordinance. So you
I'm going
can,
to say March 1st.
for the bills that are done March 1st, or for
The
the
bills that are
consumption
done March
after
1st.
Wait just a minute.
Okay?
In the first place, we already have a motion on the floor.
Okay. Well,
Let's go with that motion, and then we will make the second motion as to when it will become the effective
Okay, she
date.
told me I needed to add it to the.
Yeah.
You can do it as
So
separate.
you want to clarify, okay, are you clarifying
I'm
that is
clarifying.
the date to March 1st?
March 1st, yes.
I love this kid. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
There is on the.
I have a question.
Make it
I just want to
March 1st,
clarify.
You're going to be in the
With-
middle of a cycle.
Right, well, the ordinance is effective when it's passed. It doesn't really have anything to do with the consumption. So if you want it effective with the billing for March 1st, that's fine.
Then it doesn't bill until the 15th, right?
Well, it would be retroactive the same way the rate increases.
Retroactive.
Except
You're
for,
in a good way.
the nice thing about it being retroactive is it's going to cut their rate rather than increase their rate.
Yeah,
So we're actually trying to give some of the advantage back to them
that we took away.
that we took away the first time. So we probably ought to undo it the same way we did it the first time, so that we can get some of the money back to them. Okay,
All right, Billy.
yes.
Let's
That's
go
my
for
first one.
change number 5
Okay,
here.
okay.
You wanted it to be effective March the 1st.
Right.
Now, you want to
No,
change,
I still
no,
want it to be, but
March 1st.
effective March the
With the
1st.
bills that go out March 1st.
Effective with the bills that go out on March the 1st.
So your next water bill
Yes.
will have the new rate.
New rate effective when? When will it become effective on that rate? When will that rate
it
become
will.
effective when they start getting the water?
It will
On
be-
the
it will be
15th of
On
last
the
month.
as of
15th
Of last
Let's
month,
go to the 15th of the previous month.
January.
We're good for January.
Okay, but number 7 said
No.
to include it with the utility rates, and it's
Well,
all be
I know, we
included
want to-
in one ordinance.
Right.
So are we going to separate it, or are we going to?
Well, we don't have an ordinance yet, till our legal staff writes the ordinance.
That's, I'm addressing that.
Saves the people money.
I'm going to read this one more time.
Yes.
We have a motion by Billy Pluck that we accept the proposed new water rates and that they will be on the March 1st billing. The charge, the rates though will be retro as of the 15th of the previous month. Is that the correct and final motion?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a second
You still second it?
Councilman Moore, do you second that motion? Is there any more discussion?
It needs to be on the date that the meters are read, not the day that the meters go in the mailbox.
Well, aren't they read on the 15th?
No, that's Saturday this year, this month.
That's right.
They made a mistake.
Retro
There's no sense in
Tuesday.
making another mistake, even though it's a good mistake. There's no sense in making the same mistake. It needs to be on the billing, on the reading. They go into effect on the 15th.
Well, doesn't that cover it with the retro to the 15th of the previous month?
Good term.
Well, we have, wait a minute. We have a motion here and we have a second. We're discussing it, but we're going to vote on that motion, and if you don't agree with it, then we'll make another motion.
The way it was on the website the last time was, the new utility rates are effective October 1st, 2013 billing.
Okay. I have read what the motion is. There was a second to that motion. If you do not agree that it retro to the 15th of the previous month, then we will put that in a new motion. Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
One point clarification. When you're saying the previous month, does that mean February 15th?
Retro to the 15th of the previous month, which would
March
be
1st would be February 15th.
February
So it's still in the
15th.
future, February 15th.
It'd be January
is
15th through February 15th would be the consumption period for the
Okay,
March 1st.
no, we're
bill.
talking January then. The 15th of January.
So the motion's good.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the proposed motion by Billy Blake, please raise your hand. We have 3 opposed. Opposed, 1. 2 opposed. The motion has passed. There was another item that was suggested, and that was a refund to the consumer. And it was that the billing clerk take the amount and size of the meter and apply to a flat rate refund on their bill. 2 spreadsheets have been prepared, one by Leon McManus, our engineer, and another one by Robert Jaska. You were presented the one by Robert Jaska, and we have, you have one, Lynn?
We proposed it. What the committee came back with was a flat refund for, based upon meter size, as well as a apology letter from all of council to the citizens. Robert Jaskett contacted me after the meeting, proposed a extrapolation from Excel and to do a, well, I'll let Robert describe it because it was his brain. We put it all together. That's a more favorable percentage of refund per customer.
Okay. It was, what we did is we uploaded from software into an Excel spreadsheet the amount of the billing from September 1st, a listing of all the billings, and a billing from October 1st, and we took the difference. So that would determine the increase of everybody's bill based on the retroactive rate increase. We took some of the bill, some of all of those increases, then we divided each, we showed the net change of each person's bill, or excuse me, each account's bill, because it was all inclusive. Each account's bill divided by the total to come up with their pro rata percentage based on their usage and what they were billed for excessively on that usage. Multiplied that by the amount that staff came up as the total amount of the refund was $53,453.56, so that every account got its pro rata portion of that $53,000 to total up to the $53,000. So those that experienced a higher penalty per se is going to be reimbursed a higher rate than somebody who didn't. So, and if you go and calculate those percentages all the way down, it's roughly 73% of the overcharge is what's coming back. So the large users will get their portion. Those that were affected by less will get less.
Okay, and the purpose for this, if I am correct, correct me, was that under the other proposal, some people would, that might have only gotten an $8 increase might have gotten $10, and somebody that have gotten several $100 increase got a very small amount.
Correct.
So under this refund proposal, it would be a fair amount rather than that. Okay. Is there any discussion regarding this? Councilman Moore, do you have any? No. Councilman Clay?
Okay, so there's, you know how many minus charges there are? Minus deltas?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to put that in there. The minus charges were eliminated.
Okay, do we know how many there are? So it'll be people that won't get anything back for any adjustment made whatsoever.
That's correct. Because
They could have owed us. They could have owed us money.
Right.
Okay.
So we weren't. I didn't think we wanted to send bills to people for no return. So we eliminated the negatives out of there to come up with the. If you look there on the last page, that little column where it says the positive deltas, the delta is the net change. That 75, 197, 77 there.
These will be credits on their bills or
Credits.
checks?
Credits.
If someone moved, will they get a refund?
Yes, ma'am, if we have a current address for them.
If they're entitled to it, I would think so.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Will we try to refund it over a 1 month period or one billing cycle?
We need 2 months to put all this data in. So we're going to need 2 months, and then it would take effect, I guess, May 1st.
So it would be done at
Well,
one shot?
we can't stall it. So the moment we start entering credits, those accounts get credits. If you go through another billing cycle and you haven't gotten your credit yet, it's coming.
It will be over a period of time.
Okay.
It cannot have a definite.
Okay.
But a 2 month would be a fair estimate?
That's the estimate, yes, sir. Lynn?
I was going to say, the other option that the committee came up with was, if you went back to that 1,682 equivalent meters out there, and divided that into the $53,000 credit, that gave you a base rate of a 3/4 inch meter of $30.91. Okay, and then we use that equivalency factor 8 on the 2-inch meter, so that 2-inch meter gets 8 times that amount.
So everybody got the same?
Well, they got proportionally the same based on how their base rate was charged. That's what the committee decided to come up with, and that's it's not my, you know, I just happened to be crunching the numbers when that happened. But it was equivalent to the base rate and the equivalency factor. The other issue is the September reading versus the October reading. You're getting out of a summer month and into a summer month. Your consumption's not going to be equivalent.
Right.
So you have somebody's consumption may have gone way down, and it may not be proportionate. But I mean, you know, the committee came forward with the equivalency rate based on that, what you saw in the yellow there, of the base number of the refund divided by the equivalency meters, which is 1,682, which basically $31, and then multiply each meter by that equivalency rate that you provided on the base rate.
What I'm hearing from you is that this method is probably a more fair per household method, correct?
Yeah,
you would say this is a more fair per household, per customer credit.
Right.
Okay. But is this all just the one bill and 1 month, or is this that bill plus the next bill plus that, because we've been charging the wrong amount for 3-4 months now.
It's one on the old rate and one on the new rate is.
And it's all in 1 month.
It's all in 1 month.
So all we're doing is refunding 1 month. We're not refunding
Right.
the second month or the third month that we left the rates still out of whack. Okay.
Still have 53,000 we're going to have to account for.
Yeah, but I mean, we probably should be accounting for 100,000. If you add the other 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
Councilman Smith, do you have any questions regarding this? Councilwoman Thomas?
Well, I would say that I would come out like a bandit if we go with the meter size, because my charge was not, 30-some dollars over. So I think this is a more equitable way of doing it. But I do question whether it's just for the 1 month or if it will extend over the total period of the overcharge.
Okay. And that will be in.
Okay, just the retroactive, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, so, yeah, I'm fine with,
At this time, I will entertain a motion on the refunds.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Jessica plan for refunding the retroactive.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. The refund will be. Next, we have item 9.
Mayor?
Yes.
I believe on item number 7, the only motion that was taken was to add Councilman Tober's supplement, but then I don't think there was an actual motion and vote on bringing back an ordinance with everything from the committee that you went over.
Talking about 7, Julie?
Yes, sir.
Number 7, and it is what? Please restate that.
There was a motion that passed to add Councilman Tober's supplemental information to what you read as the committee recommendation, but there wasn't a motion on the entire recommendation.
Okay, so what we need is the entire recommendations with the addition of the other.
Yeah, everything, we've taken care of the statement of intent to change the rate. Everything else.
Okay, to include the statement of intent to change the rate. And the rest would, as presented.
Needs a motion, yes, sir.
Okay.
Would that be a separate ordinance, or are we going to incorporate all of the rates and it's all in one?
That would depend on the motion, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
I would say they're all.
The recommendation was to put them all in one.
Yeah, one for policies and one for rates.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
No, just for the.
All in one, the entire thing, okay.
Is there a motion at this time?
I'll move that we adopt an ordinance with the rates, to include rates and the policies.
Okay, is there a second? Any further discussion?
So this will include the leak, the
Yes,
extension
all
policy,
of
the
the,
leak
all of the
policy,
things that are
the
listed in the
utility payment
agenda.
extension,
It will include the water,
So the
financial hardship policy, is that one in there?
no,
We're not doing that.
there isn't one here. It's on the agenda,
Okay.
Billy.
Okay.
All
Leak
is under
adjustment.
number 7.
Leak adjustments, is that one in there?
Yes. Is there any further discussion? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous.
Mayor, was it motion seconded by Mr. Smith?
yes.
Yes, it was. We are up to item number 9. Consider and take any action necessary regarding a preliminary plat.
I'm sorry. The
Yes?
previous one, now that we've passed that, do we have to follow its rules in the implementation of rate changes? That was what I was trying to get to before.
No.
Okay. Okay,
It was
thank
passed
you.
before, we passed it before we passed that.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have some lines? Consider and take any action necessary regarding a preliminary plat submitted by Van Arbor LLC for Georgetown Village 2, Phase 1 and 2. Mr. Baker?
Mayor and council, P&Z met last night, went over the preliminary plat. Engineering was present, as well as Walter Ronde, with Artisan Development, to file the plat. The recommendations from P&Z to move forward were to accept the plat with the 3 caveats that engineering suggested. Lynn? Yeah. Pardon?
That with the alignment of Caruth, off-site utility tie-in and easements for the off-site utilities.
Alignment of Caruth, was it?
Caruth on Driscoll Hill that was filed back in 2002, is that correct, Lynn? Yes. To the south that abuts County Line Road. This plat will be following that because it's an update to an earlier plat. So the alignment of Caruth Drive that's beside the elementary school off Newport is off by around 3 feet. So one of the recommendations was to make sure that this plat, when they go out and start doing the surveying, that they match up and do that with the current plat that's filed.
So what's off by 3 feet?
Part of that
Shows right here. Shows your blow up right here. Shows Newport. Shows right here in Alstyne.
the issues that we've had with parking and traffic flow and all that stuff, has that been considered, or is this just going to?
It has, Dr. Steves and I went out and looked at it. Caruth is identified on the transportation plan as a minor collector. It has a 60-foot right-of-way as opposed to a regular 50 for residential drive. Speeds was concerned about having a lane that goes into the school because they want to get the majority of flow off of Newport that's in front of houses and get it onto Caruth once it's built out in phase 1. So that way, anybody that's parked here is either parked next to the playground or they're parked on the side of the house, not restricting anybody getting in and getting out.
Are you familiar with the issues we've had, and we've had no parking signs and parking on houses?
By providing two-way access to it, not that dead-end circulation, you will relieve a lot of that problem. They're still going to have rush hours and things like that.
But there will be room for ambulances and fire trucks and everything to get through.
Yeah, the proposed pavement width is 37 foot wide, which is extra wide. Right now, 32 is your standard on your residential street. So this will be an extra 5 feet. It gives a little extra time right out there to get that done. The issue on the Caruth alignment, this is a common property line with the Driscoll Hill, the south property line. The measurements of the lots is 3.61 feet off of from that same corner. So their surveyor will adjust that to make that work. So, but in essence, the lots and everything else will remain in the same configuration. There'll be a total of 3.5 feet that get adjusted.
What can be done to make it more accessible so we don't have the issues that we have now? Is there anything on this point that could be done to make that better? Because you just said that it corrects some, but it doesn't correct all.
Well,
is this not the chance to correct all?
Well, I mean, depending on, by having the through traffic coming off and not having to go out here, you are correct. You are providing an alternate, so you're going to relieve the congestion by half when that goes through there by allowing access straight out to Kelly Road.
How wide is Caruth?
60 foot, sir.
It's 60 foot right away with a 37 foot paved section.
Are these gonna be single-family dwellings?
Yes, sir.
What will be the minimum square footage, or do you have something like that yet?
The minimum that's in Georgetown.
Okay.
It's according to CD.
So it'll be the same thing, same thing as the other Georgetown is?
Yeah. Well, actually, that phase of Georgetown is higher. The lots are bigger and the size is higher.
Oh, okay. So you'll have to go with a higher size? Yeah,
Slightly
okay.
larger, that will become larger.
Okay.
There's no houses.
Now, so they're all furniture like you see in the current build out of Georgetown.
On the one where you have an alley, we have back garages on those? You know yet?
I'm Greg Edwards.
Oh, okay.
There is an existing alley right here. And so there will be.
They'll have a garage, okay.
I'm turning around. This is 75. Okay, so, yeah. So where are we talking about here?
The sewer line, also step size of sewer lines going from industrial all the way down to the sewer line. Upsize that line, you can do some current lines come out.
And the sign shows it right up.
That's cool. Needs 18, like the one that's going from the industrial park.
Yeah, I thought it was 29. That really would have.
High version, upsize that line, through that long, which is called clean water.
By providing the access here,
That's
the connection out on Newport,
you're
giving them actually 2 extra outlets to get out.
And then when this is further developed,
It goes straight into, or County Line Road.
defer as long as possible.
so you have 2
That's being
back
built out at the same time.
We're adding 2 back doors with the third.
Well, that's fine.
This is Chris.
I'm twisted.
This is the one to the south that ties into County Line Road. So that's it.
I don't know that you're aware, but we had some issues with parking and traffic down on Metro, and we put a Band-Aid on it a period of time ago. And I said, when that develops further, we need to be sure that we solve the problem and not create more.
Yes,
This is the chance.
when we came in as talking to staff, basically there was no connection from Kelly over to this based on the previously approved preliminary plat for this area. And staff requested that we try to incorporate that, which we have done to try to relieve that situation. And as Caruth gets extended down County Line Road, there will be additional relief for that particular situation.
So we're not.
We're giving it 2 more solutions.
Well, I would think the solution is Kelly Lane.
Yep, the-
Everyone would use that instead of going the other way. It would not add to it.
Well,
It would not add to it.
The eastern going, Thompson Lane going out to Kelly Lane, Mr. Durante worked with Bill Benton to gain that easement. So that way, we have that ingress egress from the west.
Yeah. Mr. Benton has already supplied a letter saying he would grant that right-of-way class easement for that roadway going through there to help us. Everybody said I saw that in the process.
I just don't, when we put a Band-Aid on it before, it was wrong, and we didn't correct anything. And this was what we're waiting for, to correct the issue.
And the total number of houses, 150?
163.
163.
163 lots in both phases. I think 96 in the first phase.
94 in the first phase.
94 in the first phase.
69%.
94 plus
94 first.
69 in the second phase.
69.
And then 94 opens you up from Kelly to, so that opens up.
Yeah, the road out to Kelly gets built in the first phase.
Okay.
Good.
And that's the 94 or the 69?
That's the 94.
94, okay.
Kelly Lane.
And we're going to start when?
We'll have it
Tomorrow?
You have a projected schedule with your plan?
Right here.
It's been asked, do you have a projected schedule of when you plan to start?
Well, like I said last night, optimistically, middle of the year. And therefore delivery probably next year. It'll be 10 to 12 months from start to finish.
Will you be part of the newer Georgetown's HOA?
Not determined yet, but we were offered the opportunity. Either we'll be in it or we'll set up a separate HOA.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding this?
Can we get input from our public works guy? How many manholes are you gonna have to put in?
They'll provide all of that.
Okay.
That's in
Well, the houses, the duplexes on the front, you said you had to put in.
Yeah, but we didn't catch that in the very first, when I first got here. That was already started before I got here, so that was not brought about, but Lynn's already addressed all that with them on the very front end.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there any swimming pools for you?
I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary plot.
We have a motion that we approve the preliminary plot. Is there a second?
I'll second.
With P&Z's recommendations.
How does P&Z vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any further discussion? We have a motion that we approve this with, and also to include the P&Z recommendations. We have a second. Any further discussion? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. It is passed. Thank you very much for that. Okay, the next thing that we have on the agenda has some mountain. Number 10, consider taking any action necessary regarding a resolution regarding filing a federal judicial vacancy in the Sherman Division. We were contacted by the Sherman Bar Association to have to approve a resolution from the city of Alstyne. This resolution is not to promote any one bar this position, but to promote someone from this area, a qualified person from this area to this position. The resolutions have already been signed by Cook, Fannin, Grayson, and Lamar counties, and the cities of Bonham, Denison, Gainesville, Howe, Perry, Pottsboro, Sherman, Whitesboro, and Whitesboro. Whitesboro and Whitewright have also signed their resolution, and tonight they are asking us for our consent on this resolution. Are there any questions regarding this? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? A motion has been made and seconded that we approve this resolution. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is approved unanimously. We have item 11, consider and take any action necessary regarding approval of an ordinance to abandon an alleyway in Block 15 of the original town plat at the intersection of East Jefferson Street, Farmers Market 121, and Sherman Street. This petition was presented by Frank Walker and Juan Frega. Are there any questions regarding this? Then at this time, I will accept a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve the
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further questions?
Mayor, if I may, could the motion include that the ordinance that's in front of you, that I would be able to add a sentence? Normally, when an alley is abandoned, it's split equally among the abutting property owners, and in this case, it's my understanding from Jennifer, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a property owner who does not wish to take any of it, so it's not going to be divided evenly among the neighbors, and so we just need to add a sentence to state which ones.
Do we need a separate motion that we
No,
add that sentence?
No, it could be included as part of the motion to approve.
Okay, amend. You want to amend your motion to include that
I'll
sentence?
make the motion, amend the motion to do what you said.
Thank you.
And is that all right? Any further discussion? All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We are going to number 17.
17 or 17.
Well, no.
It's 17 was accepting the petition, requesting it. They
One is to approve the ordinance to amend.
normally 17 would have come first. They got shuffled out of order. But
Yes, they
it's
did.
okay.
We're going to do 17 also. Now, were there any questions regarding number 17, even though it is out of order?
What are you asking for?
To approve the petition from the property owners requesting abandonment.
Petition.
Is that overhead and run?
To approve the ordinance.
Well, the ordinance, you've approved, normally you would accept the petition and then vote on the ordinance. For the minutes.
Let's have a, I'll make the motion to accept.
Is there,
And do we still need your added sentence to that?
No, sir.
Okay.
is there a motion, second? We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. 17 is done. Okay. We'll do number 12. Let's see if I have it in order. Number 12, consider and take any action necessary regarding ordering the May 10th, 2014 general election. Is there anything you would like to add to this, Jennifer?
Everything is pretty much the same, except that on election day, because we're not sure what the state of the community center is, Tracy has offered up the library, so voting on election day will take place at the library.
Will it be by paper ballot?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, is there a motion?
Make a motion to order the May 10th election. You have to have a library card and a voting card?
You will have to have a photo ID.
Photo ID is required.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Number 13, consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution of support for Palladium USA Senior Housing and approving a Chapter 380 agreement committing $57,000 of taxpayer revenue to the project. Mr. Baker, do you have any comments regarding this?
Mayor and Council, Julie Ford prepared the 380 agreement. Worked with Palladium to iron out the details over the last 2 weeks. Thomas Huff is here to speak on Palladium's behalf if there are any questions as far as they're concerned. If you read in the commitment that the $57,000 is not due until all the requirements are met within the 380 agreement.
Is that a cash requirement or a e-comment?
What it basically is,
57.
it's a 10-year agreement that we start paying property taxes when the property is built first assessment year. And then the way the 380 agreement works is basically at the end of the 9-year period, after we've been paying property taxes for 9 years, then we pay the 10th year property taxes, and then the city will basically refund that back to us at the end of 10 years, to be during the 9th year. Up to the amount stipulated of $57,000.
Are there any more questions for us?
Can that be considered in the budget process to set back that money on an annual basis so we don't have to pay it all the time?
We can, I mean, if we want to do that.
Yeah, you can earmark it in the reserves or something, a certain amount.
So we
each year.
don't get stuck with a $57,000 bill. We can do $5,700 a year for 9 years. Okay, you're looking.
It's better than a chunk, so.
That is something that we could anticipate as opposed to waiting until 10 years and have money set aside for it.
This is something that would come up with budget.
Right. Well, it'll be a budget item, but that's just a thought.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Huff?
What's the anticipated annual property tax?
It's going to be, the anticipated property taxes is real close to this number. I think that the number was 60-some thousand a year estimated.
So in the 10th year?
No, this is from actually upon stabilization based on cost. And by the 10th year, it's most likely I've never seen property tax decrease. So
let me ask you this.
I would assume it would increase.
If your property taxes were $60,000 a year, you would only pay the difference? Is that what we're saying?
No. You would get the property taxes were $60,000 a year, okay, and we went for 10 years, the city would earn $600,000. Okay, of the $600,000, basically in year 10, we would get a rebate or we would get a refund of the $57,000. Okay, just one time. Not a per year amount, just one time.
The $60,000 you're talking about, is it all your taxes or just city?
That's the city portion of it.
Just the city portion.
So in addition to that, there's ISD taxes, there's county taxes, et cetera.
And that's just on the property?
That's
not
the property.
Not any other taxes that could be generated by?
Right, that doesn't include the resident base, which will be, spending money within the city, trading to the sales tax base.
You won't have any other property tax from residents?
No.
I mean, that's not taxed.
Are there any other questions?
I'll make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign an agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? In that case, all in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. Yes. Item 14. Some of these items have been on this agenda since the end of November. I will apologize for it, but we're doing the best we can with the weather as it is today. Number 4, and I'm going to be skipping around a little on the agenda. Number 14, consider and take any action necessary regarding approval of an ordinance amending ordinance number 591 as it relates to the number of park and recreation members. Is there any discussion regarding this ordinance? Then at this time, I will accept a motion.
Well, I have a motion that we increase the number of park board members from 5 to 7.
As it is.
As requested.
As requested. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I have just a comment. In the minutes of the November 21st minutes, there I laughed when I read it. It says where it's I guess the third paragraph when they're talking about and Vicki Cupid that an affidavit concerning board members and any issues regarding companies or entities may be could be signed by that board member, rescuing that board member instead of recusing.
Oh, okay. Now, we have any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor of the motion to approve the ordinance and the amendment, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Motion passed. Consider and take any action necessary regarding a reappointment of Vicki Cupid and appointment of Gary Evans to the Park Recreation Board. Is there any discussion regarding this?
Yes.
Yes?
Were you part of these meetings, Steve?
Yes.
Just a quick question on, we have I noticed one of the nominees being requested as part of VASA.
Yes.
Do you still hold authority over the fields?
Yes, but I mean, of course, I'd like to have a member of the VSA on there.
Okay.
Because I can get their input.
So you're in approval of these recommendations? Okay. So,
Is there any other discussion?
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Vicki Cupid and appoint Gary Evans to Parks and Rec.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passed.
I do have a question though. Since we upped the number from 5 to 7, will we be getting applications or what?
I'm sure that the park board will take applications and will put it in a newsletter, and then it will be brought to council with their recommendation. I would like at this time to go to number 21 in your agenda. Consider and take any action necessary regarding the appointment of Jeff Skinner to the Van Alstyne Community Development Corporation Board of Directors. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this? If not at this time, I will accept the motion.
I was going to say, is he here? Can we see him or hear from him?
No, he is not present at this time. It has been approved this meeting, I believe.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jeff to CDC.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? At this time, those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Motion passed. 24. We have, please go to number 24. I know this is confusing, but there are people who, since we're going into executive session, I would like to see if we can get some of these items done. Number 24 is consider and take any action necessary regarding passage of an ordinance establishing regulations for double fencing and fencing standards. This was something that was brought up in regard to D.R. Horton and Mr. Plake, Billy Plake. So I do have down here that this was brought up a long time ago, Billy, so my notes are cold, but I do have down that there was no permit required unless the fence was over 6 feet tall.
Okay.
That I do have. Is there any thing that you would like to present in regard to this?
No, the main thing this adds is just the requirement that if you're going to build 2 fences beside each other and do double fencing, then you got to leave at least 3 feet between them so it can be maintained properly. And hopefully that'll be discouraging what you guys doing.
3 feet between
Fences.
Is this a citywide
It would
requirement?
be a citywide requirement.
Mayor, if I may, there are 2 different ordinances in
Yeah.
the packet, and So you would, if you want to pass one, you would need to select which
Select
it
which
is.
one we would want.
The one that has the, kind of the watermark background, which would obviously be removed before the mayor would sign, that says no permit unless over 6 feet tall. This ordinance does not specifically require a building permit to do a fence that is lower than 6 feet tall. Ones that are higher, it comes from the building code and that it's already required. The second draft, which has the permit required watermarking, would require a fence permit for those fences, for anything over 18 inches tall. And so someone would have to come in and get a permit. The reason that you would consider that is you don't want someone to spend the money to build a 4-foot fence and they build it 2 inches from an existing fence, and then they're told afterwards, they're given a ticket and said, you're violating the ordinance, you need to take the fence down. If they have to come in and get a permit, then someone can tell them up front, if you're going to build a fence that tall, we have the spacing requirement, and hopefully prevent them from going to the expense, because fences usually are not cheap, before it's done. But if you prefer just to leave the permitting system as it is for over 6 feet tall, then that ordinance is in here as well.
What is the expense of the permit?
It's based on the valuation. As long as the fence is valued at or under $10,000, it's $88.45.
$88.45. Okay, we have two. One. But on both of, but even, no matter which one that you choose, there's still the citywide requirement of double fencing, right?
Of no double fencing. That's
so
right.
no matter which one you choose, that would be in there.
Yes, ma'am.
And that be restricted to community developments as Georgetown and not interfere with the lives of the rest of the town?
Especially fences already are in existence.
I don't think you can go in and have someone tear down their fence if it doesn't meet an ordinance. Can you, or can't you?
Ones that are existing, it would be a difficult process to make someone remove an existing fence if there were already double fences in place.
What term would you use to restrict this to, as an example, the Georgetown environment, as opposed to?
If it were going to be a Georgetown environment, I would recommend amending, that neighborhood has a planned development zoning ordinance, and I would recommend amending that particular ordinance to prohibit double fencing.
That appears to be where the issue is, as opposed to in the rest of the town.
But it could be where somebody's building a new house in the town, they could do the same thing. And build a fence right next to the fence that's already there. You know, it may not be a wood fence, it may be a chain link fence or something like that. Now you can't get both of them. I mean, it's a possibility it could occur. Any place they build a new
Well, there's a possibility, of course,
Yeah.
but the likelihood of a conflict or a disagreement in a, use my words carefully here, in a older neighborhood are less likely to come into play than they would in a organized where there's already restrictions of height and color and TV antennas and all of that stuff. I mean, that's where you're going to have more, the need for more control or the assumption of more control than you will in the rest of the town that's just neighbors living next door to neighbors in a controlled environment. I wouldn't mind seeing it go into effect in a developed area, a multi-home area, whatever term you want to use.
Planned development.
A planned development.
I've got a question. I'm new to the council, and I've seen this come up a couple of times, but I never saw any resolve to it. And also really didn't see what the issue is. Is Georgetown not governed by an HOA that identifies?
They're governed by an HOA, but the builder can build, he has control of his own fencing. So what the present builder, D.R. Horton, was doing was taking somebody who had an older fence on this side and just putting another fence and abutting it right up next to it. So therefore you couldn't maintain the first fence anymore, or there was a likelihood you couldn't maintain your fence because the other guy's fence is now shut up against it. You can't, depending on whether it's inside or outside as to whether or not you can touch it. And he did that on a few houses. He didn't do it on all the houses.
Right.
It was done based on.
Were there complaints from?
Yeah, there was complaints about people that had that happen to them. That now they had a double fence and couldn't maintain their present fence.
But even if we pass this, that will not correct what's already there.
That will not correct what's already there. That's
It will
right.
just prevent it from this time forward.
Right.
And it would prevent it from it happening in any other planned development in the city.
Well, or right, there's a way it's written in anywhere in town, not just planned development.
I think it needs to be restricted to the planned developments as opposed to citywide.
Okay, I'm gonna make my motion based on it being a permit required just because of the price being, like you said, making sure they knew what the rules were and that kind of stuff. They may not know they have to have a permit anyway, so they may never get there anyway. And so I make a motion that we accept the one that says permit required as an ordinance to help control double fencing.
Okay, but this has nothing to do with planned development.
No, I'm not restricting it to planned development.
So it would be citywide.
Citywide from now on.
And the ordinance that would be that all fences would have to have a permit required.
Any planned development that comes to town is going to have certain restrictions, and council will oppose those.
But what I'm trying to get his proposal together. And that you are making the proposal that you adopt that this be required citywide and that all fences require a permit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the second ordinance that's in the packet.
Okay, second ordinance. We have a motion for the second ordinance. Is there a second? Is there a second for the second ordinance?
I'll say.
We have a motion by Billy Floyd, seconded by Russell Mower. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the second ordinance, please raise your hand. Opposed? 3. That motion has failed. Is there another motion at this time?
I'd like to make a motion that we have the first ordinance with no permit unless over 6 feet tall, and that it be restricted to planned developments within the city.
And we have a second motion for the
To
first
do that,
ordinance.
that's making it a zoning regulation,
Oh,
and
okay.
so it would have to go back and go through
Planning and
P&Z
zoning.
and then
Okay.
come to you.
Okay, then you would correct your motion to be the first one that there would be no requirement.
Yeah, no.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second that the first ordinance be adopted. Any further discussion?
Just clarification. What's the difference between the two?
One,
Which one is what?
one is that no matter what, the one that was defeated was that an ordinance was used for every fence. This one is only the first ordinance, I mean a permit. This one would not require a permit for a fence that was 3 feet tall or.
If it's over 6, then you have to get.
Over 6, you have to. So we have this motion and a second.
It's still citywide.
But it's still citywide. We cannot change that part.
You don't want that?
She said you can't have it. She said you could not use it planned, well, She
Would
said
have to go to planning.
you cannot restrict it as planned development, isn't that why you
Yeah,
stated?
if it's going to be a zoning regulation, it would have to go
It has
through
to be a
P&Z and
zoning
come back
regulation.
as a
So
zoning.
this motion that is made would be citywide.
Okay, I'd like to withdraw the motion and then have it go to zoning, planning and zoning for their consideration to make it restricted.
You made a second, did you agree with that? Okay, the motion has been withdrawn and changed to withdraw this ordinance and have it go to the P&Z. Is that correct? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of this going to the P&Z, please raise your hand. We have 3 in favor, opposed 2. This motion passes. Motion 24, number 25. Discuss and take any action pursuant to an agenda request submitted by Grant Poe regarding property tax audit, water money, and city assets amount. Mr. Poe, I have looked into this request that you have made, and I think I have a solution.
Okay.
I hope I do.
Well, okay, I sure hope I thank you for trying.
I'm trying. Okay, you asked for a property tax audit, a water money, you wanted to know about the overpayment of the citizens, where did it go? It went into the water fund. Did we sell water to Melissa in the past? We have, yes, the amount, when, and how much. I do not know, but we are not doing it now. You wanted to know the total asset amount and the net asset amount. This I have not been able to come up with, but I have a solution for you.
Well, that's the one thing that I did see at a previous meeting such as this, put up on the board one night. And I sketched the numbers down and
okay.
Thought I had them rough, but just wanted to recheck them again.
Do you have those?
I don't have them with me today. They can be found in our audit, which is available online, and I can print the page off out of our audit and provide that to you.
Okay. You can provide these too. Okay. I want to make a suggestion to you, Mr. Poe.
Yes, ma'am.
I have something for you. You can make a request to the city. If it is not an agenda request and something that you want,
yes, ma'am,
you go with a request in writing. You get it signed by her, you get it stamped by her. And I've checked into the law, and the law says that if you do not, that your request information in writing, the city must reply within a reasonable amount of time. If they do not reply to you within a reasonable amount of time, now this does not apply to an agenda request. This applies to an information request. Then you may call the Attorney General, and it is the Open Government Hotline. You will tell them of your request, when it was made, and what it was. And they will give you an answer from the city as to why that was not supplied to you. And I have the telephone number right here.
Okay.
You may have it.
Okay, thank you very much.
So in the future, if you want this, put this where you can find it.
Well, I will.
Because, but she is going to, but this is an agenda request, so it does not apply to the agenda request. But if you want the information, you make an information request.
Information request.
That's right.
And that means you ask for documents. You have to ask for documents. You're just asking questions.
Like the property tax audit.
Yes.
For the city to show me where the property taxes have been going
Whatever you
over
make
the
in
last 4,
writing,
5, 10 years?
she will reply to you within a reasonable amount of time.
Okay.
And right now, she is going to provide you with the city's total asset amount and net asset amount. And she will do that, I assume, before this week is over. Correct? Thank you very much.
Well, I'm in no hurry, Jennifer, so I got a lot of free time on my hand, like I had been trying to figure out what's going on in the city.
Okay.
Ms. Mayor, so that's all the information you're going to give me
That is it.
for my agenda?
Yes. Those are, I have answered the questions that I am able to answer at this time. And
What about
she will
the
provide
numerous
the
other ones I do have? that I
Are they
still
listed
haven't-
on the request?
Well, I guess I will have to fill out another agenda request for the coming month for these other questions.
Yes, it has to be
Hopefully,
listed on the
you won't
agenda.
be telling me that those are documents that you, as
You
the
need-
mayor of this city, cannot provide me, a citizen of this city, who pays his property taxes.
I have told you where the water money has gone to and answered the questions to the best of my ability. Yes. And the other information I do not have with me, and they would be the information that you would get from Jennifer, who is our city clerk.
I believe I've got a blank agenda request on me for next month for all these other questions I have. And I guess I will just try to act like a gentleman and thank you for your time.
Thank you very
And
much.
tell you to have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Jennifer, talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. Next, we will do number 26, which is consider and take any action necessary pursuant to an agenda request submitted by Pat Patterson regarding A, providing Mayor Salmon with full access to City Hall, B, providing Mayor Salmon with an office at City Hall, and C, providing Mayor Salmon with administrative staff support. Do you have any comments you wish to make regarding this request, Mr. Patterson?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to reinforce something that's been going on probably at least 40 years out in this city, somewhere in that about. And I don't think that 5 city council people should make any kind of deal where the highest elected official, the top elected official in this town don't have office, access to City Hall, don't have a mailbox, and all that kind of stuff. And we've had it for years and years. As far as I know, Kim was the only one that didn't have an office in there. And she didn't want one because she had a business down the street. And I think our mayor, the highest elected official in this town, needs an office at City Hall, and we put the desk and stuff in the big fort, back, and give her an office at City Hall. And give her all the keys, the codes, and everything to that high-priced door there. Go back, I guess, to the city manager's office. I mean, she should have all access to everything at City Hall.
Okay. You have made this agenda request. Is there any discussion, questions, or comments that council wishes to make? Councilman Jaskin?
I guess ask the city manager, is there room for this in City Hall? Or can there be?
There can be. I mean, there really isn't any appropriate space. I mean, we're in the building's in poor shape. I mean, we really have a lack of appropriate space.
I mean, how do we run out of space after 40 years? At least Mayor Collins, I served 19 years.
You said Mayor Masters didn't have an office. Mayor Collins didn't either.
I mean, who decides that? The people elected to the end.
I understand.
And I don't think you or nobody else should be able to say that she shouldn't have office.
Okay.
And another thing I think you're breaking is, what is that? Homeland Security, because if Homeland Security calls you, and I talked to the lawyer over and asked her, they don't want to talk to you, they want to talk to the highest elected official in this town.
Okay.
And I think you're breaking the law too.
No, sir, we're not, but, okay.
I mean, we don't run out of room, we've got the same building we've had for years and years. And I don't think the city council ought to determine that she don't need office up there, because all you gotta do is, in the big section there, we used to have desks back to back. The city manager had office, city administrator, the city administrator before the city manager. The mayor had an office, and I think the city secretary. We don't have a city administrator, we do have a city manager. And why do anybody else need an office in that building more than Timmy Evans, being the highest elected official in this town?
Current form of government, sir, that's the way we operate. As I
So
handle
what
the
you
day-to-day.
telling me now that all the cities in the form of government that we got, the mayor is not the city hall, that's what you telling me?
I'm telling you that the last two mayors haven't had an office. I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations. The mayor is the ceremonial head. Anything that she needs copied, she comes by during business hours. If she needs to reference any documents, she comes by business hours.
So what you telling me that you don't really have to answer to nobody?
No, I answer for council.
I still think the mayor needs an office up there.
Okay.
Can we hear from the mayor about,
Huh?
I mean, I don't, I would rather have the mayor discuss whether the mayor needs an office or something rather than Pat Patterson discuss whether the mayor
I'm
needs an
just
office.
telling you really what we've done for, say, 35 or 40 years.
I know.
And I don't
I
think
wanna
you have
know.
a right to change it.
We're not changing. Like I said, he said, the same thing. Ms. Collins, didn't have one? I don't think Parker had one, did he?
Who didn't?
Did Parker have one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what he
Everybody
had.
had one except Kim and
I met with him a few times. He used a different office. I don't know what it was.
Everybody's had one all the years I've been here,
Now-
except Collins and Kim.
Can we ask the mayor?
Yes, when I get to you.
Okay.
Do you have any comments, Mr. Moore?
Yeah,
Councilman Moore?
I do. I mean, we have two offices, right? Officially 2 rooms, and then we have the open area.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, and I think the mayor having a office is great. Problem is, 35 years ago, we didn't have this much staff in there. We do need a bigger city hall, but we have bigger issues than a new city hall right now. She is a ceremonial head. What is she going to be doing? I mean, she has no authority over any of the personnel up there. She has no authority over our city manager, and she has no authority to make deals unless we, the council, tell her. So what?
But the people spoke. She's the highest elected office in this town, and
We are a
always
city
one of those
manager-run government. We are not a mayor-run government. If you understand that, she's a ceremonial head. She's not a city manager.
We've had city managers, the mayor still had office up there.
The citizens of this city voted for a city manager-run government. Not Pat Patterson. The city of Van Alstyne voted not once, but twice. That's a big difference. Yeah,
They voted twice.
in a mayor-run government, that mayor needs an office up there because she's running the city. She's not running the city. Our city manager is at the direction of these 5 people, not at the direction of the mayor. I think that's where you've got it messed up.
No, I ain't got it messed up. You got it messed up.
You sure do.
No, I don't.
And wasting our taxpayers' money to give her administrative help when she has no authority to give administration any direction.
Why in the world we even need to elect the mayor then? We don't need none then, right?
Ask your state government. This is the state government's policies.
Well, I tell you one thing,
Okay. Discussion, Billy?
Yeah, can you tell me what you want? I mean, I'd rather than hearing Pat tell me.
There is room for an office. However, I do meet, and I meet with representatives from the MPO and other. I have even met with the council. When I meet in the museum because there is no other place to meet. And that is what I have done up until now. I have an office that I have made at my home. where the city has provided me with a copy machine and a computer, laptop computer. I work with I am in charge of the agenda. I'm not totally gone, nothing. I am in charge of that. I do have to call. I do have to, I do make the corrections and the changes. I do attend other meetings that are outside of the city. When I have when someone calls and they want to meet, they are always amazed that we meet in the museum. When I first became mayor, I asked for a raise and was informed there was just no room for a mayor at City Hall. I asked again if there could be a mayor's office if you build a new City Hall. So also there might be a possible way to make an office over where the Chamber of Commerce is. But that really, all of those rooms are either used for storage or other things. So I can see both sides of this. I've looked at other towns. How has a city manager form of government? They also have a mayor's office.
Yeah, a city administrator.
He told me he was a city manager. City administrator. But they do have, most of the towns, I think all of the towns really, do provide an office for the mayor. But I do go back and forth. I'm not going to demand an office in City Hall. I think had there been an office made there, that it would have not gotten to this, because it's not that you act like it is such a big deal. It's not, that there not be an office there. But really, when we get right down to it, is it? I don't know. I don't know that I have an answer for you.
Like in staff, how much staff would you need? I'm just asking if it was.
I don't need staff. I need access to the things that are going to be on the agenda. When I get the agenda, I only get the agenda. I don't know. I see what you see. I don't see who submits things. I do make recommendations of things that I would like changed on that agenda. Sometimes they're followed, sometimes they're not. But I call, and if I have any questions, I call Shay or I call Jennifer. Usually I have to go through Frank to get any changes I want on the agenda. So I do it on the phone, or I go to town and do it.
I was just asking because it said with administrative staff support, and I just wondered what that meant.
All I'm asking for is space. That's all I'm asking for, and all access.
And she has things to be typed, too.
And people in this town are tired.
Hey, it's good, just a second, man. I was talking, I had the floor, I think. Is that not correct?
Well, I mean, you know what? You and everybody on that council is hired by the people in this town to do a job. And what you people need to start doing is listen to the people. Y'all can't run everything. 4 or 5 people run everything.
You know what's cool about that, Pat? There's a lot more people in this town than Pat Patterson.
I know that.
And most of us are listening.
And maybe in a few weeks, you'll see what I'm talking about.
I think.
Now, may I ask you a question, ma'am?
Now.
You said you thought there might be a place that you could make an office. What could you tell me what that was?
I said there can always be.
Oh, okay.
There always can be. There have been 3 employees, now there's 3 and a half, no, 3 and a part-time.
Is there, would this office require privacy or not privacy, or would it make any difference? But I think there's only one office in there that.
There's 2.
Oh, there's 2 that you can have privacy at?
Yes, there's 2 with privacy.
Okay.
At present, though, one of them is occupied by the water clerk. Shay, and the other one is by Jennifer. These are closed off, extremely private.
The water clinic is open on two sides.
No, it's
And beforehand, our water clerk always was out in the big.
It's open inside, but not to the outside. Okay. Do you have any comments you wish to make?
I think there's one word that we need to consider, and that's called respect.
That's right.
We have an elected official. Whether some consider her important or not is their opinion.
That's right.
The people of this town have elected the mayor to represent them. She is more than ceremonial. She needs to be able to walk into City Hall and move around at her pleasure. She needs to have a key to City Hall. She needs to have a code to the security system of the doors that's been added. And it wouldn't hurt for her to have a desk out there in the middle of the room, just so she'll have a place to sit down and look at what she's doing. It's called respect. We don't have that for our neighbor. Whether you agree with her or disagree with her, she is our mayor until somebody is elected to replace her. She deserves the respect of the city staff. She's not the only one that doesn't get respect. But she deserves respect because it's a day-to-day operation. She should be able to walk into that building at any time, at any location, and not have to ask permission to go behind the counter. It's called respect, guys. She deserves it.
I have been approached by so many citizens who are appalled at the fact that the mayor does not have an office in City Hall, and I agree with them. I think it is wrong. I remember whenever Willie Body was mayor, he had an office where I guess Shay has the office now. That had been the mayor's office, and I truly believe that it is necessary for the mayor to be represented in City Hall and have an office there. Also that she doesn't have to type all of her own stuff. It would be most helpful to have support there because of the different things that she does have to present to us or does provide for us, that there be clerical help as well. And it is my firm belief that the mayor belongs in City Hall, or at least has an office in City Hall and access to whatever is available there for her.
Okay.
Mayor,
We have.
Just have one more comment. I can see where everybody's talking about all the different viewpoints here, but one thing to keep in mind, and I'll use a past experience. The mayor she's an ambassador of this city. When people come to town and they know that there's a mayor, they want to come in and see the mayor. If the city manager is doing all the work, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, look at United Kingdom. You've got the prime minister that runs the country, and you've got the king or the queen that's the figurehead. Okay, everybody knows there's a king or queen. Everybody respects the king or queen. And the prime minister, does the lion's share of the work. I mean, I'm not saying this is a kingdom or anything here, but the queen, or the mayor in this case, is the ambassador of this city. And my experience that I was going to use is when I came to Van Alstyne a few years ago and joined the chamber. Chamber didn't have an office. the chamber was going wherever they could be. It's before, you know, they met in the EDC, CDC office. They didn't have their name on the window or anything. When people came in to see the Chamber of Commerce, they didn't know where to go. It was until we included that as part of that office building and put the chamber's face on that window that somebody can come in and talk to the chamber. And I think it would be beneficial, since the mayor is an elected official, she is an ambassador of this community, that there would be some place there, if, like what Jim said, maybe an office or something that she can be seen, visible in City Hall. You know, whether it's an office, if there's not an office space, there's not an office space. And we could work towards getting a new City Hall with plenty of offices in it. But, you know, I mean, the whole thing that, I've been on several boards here in the community. The main thing that everybody talks about is how we need to work together, and the mayor is involved with each of these boards or organizations or whatever. If it's a ribbon cutting that the chamber has to do, or if it's a opening of a new park or improved something or another, the mayor needs to be there. The mayor is there. But people also know that the mayor should have a place there at City Hall also. And, you know, however we need to work around this, we need to do it right. And you know,
Yeah.
I understand the limitations that we've got, but if we're going to improve the image of Van Alstyne as being something that's welcome and everybody gets along, even though we may not, you know, we want to promote that image. It's going to be good for Van Alstyne. So, you know, that being said, we can do that.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm not slighting anybody. Everybody's opinion is valid. We just think we need to work together to find a good solution to it.
And Mayor, I'd like to say we got 3 offices too. We got the 2 right where Willie used to be and city secretary, and you got the back office for the city manager, city administrator. So we really got 3 offices.
Okay, at this time, we have had comments from the council and from Mr. Patterson. At this time, I will, if there is, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we put an office for the mayor in City Hall, and that it include the provisions provided for in the agenda.
Would you be satisfied with just a desk as opposed to an office? I mean, you still can function.
I will be
visible.
satisfied in whatever the council decides.
I think that Shay's office is what I would suggest.
Need to be something that's visible.
Well, it has that side door, yeah. Yeah, you take the covers off of the window, they can see.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
And the motion was for everything that's requested? Is that what I'm?
Is that?
Yes, as the
Full access, an office, administrative staff, keys,
Support.
codes,
It doesn't
everything.
say administrative staff, it just says support.
That means support of the current staff.
yeah. That if typing needs to be done or even copies made, that someone can help out.
They do that now. Okay, did you want this all 3? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all of those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand.
Was this I'm sorry.
This is for the office at City Hall.
An office,
An office at City Hall?
not just a desk, but a whole office.
Oh, there's only room for a desk in that one area. I mean, for the mayor to sit in the big open space. No.
Clarify your motion, please.
Okay, that a space be provided, preferably the office that other mayors have held, such as the place that Willie Body had, which is the one next to the city clerk.
Okay.
And full access.
And access to, obviously that would require, keys and codes and access to the phones, copy machines, mail, anything that the mayor needs, all the requirements for the job.
Mayor, do you want this?
This is what?
Is this what you want?
Is this what, I want whatever the council agrees on. For this reason, because if I say, because it really puts me in a very awkward position. I already have, when I go in and I ask for copies to be made, I already have that. Whereas I don't think you realize that. Full access to City Hall, no, I have to ask permission there.
And that's wrong.
And a space provided, whether it be an office or a space. I do think there are times when it would be more appropriate. I am not having people that I am visiting with come to my home office. So we go to the museum. So since it is an awkward situation that I am put in, I hate to say either way, but I do believe that there are offices provided for mayors in the other cities.
I checked with TML Legal, and there is only one city in all of Texas that does not have a mayor's office in City Hall. One in the whole state of Texas. And I think it sure looks poor for us to be the second. I'd have to go back in my notes and look at it.
So, we still have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to say that, again, I'm not against you having an office. And I do want to clarify that. My concern is with the staff that's there in the space. And, I mean, being in there, I've seen 2 closed offices. And I know both of those offices are needed for the jobs to be in. So, clarifying where, I don't disagree that you don't need this. I guess I want some clarity. I mean, the first thing is I saw something a little bit alarming because I didn't understand why it's full access to City Hall. With an office and with administrative staff support. What I saw with that is you are getting your own secretary. And do we have this in our budget? I mean, I saw a lot of impact in all this. And the other thing that I don't know as far as, I don't know how other cities operate when we have a city manager run government. Do mayors have this much? They got the codes to everything, and is there liability there? And they are elected officials, and so are the city councilmen. But I'm seeing a lot more than just an office on this sheet, if y'all understand that.
Usually when it is very common for mayors to have an office. It is also common for mayors to be able to access City Hall in smaller cities. They tend to have keys. In larger cities, not only the mayor, but certain department heads and employees may have those cards that you have to swipe and it knows who you are and either unlocks the door or it doesn't. It's handled a lot of different ways. Most do not have a dedicated staff person, but the administrative staff does assist the mayor with typing and copying and administrative tasks. It is very common. But as far as computers, the mayors usually have their own computers. Most for security, most computers lock and every employee has one access code and there's an IT person that knows them all, but employees and elected officials and whoever don't all have each other's access codes. Just as an example, I mean, Jennifer wouldn't have the access code to her laptop and she wouldn't have the access code to the computer on Jennifer's desk, and so if something happens on that employee's computer, that employee has the accountability, for what happened because it's secure. But that's common in many businesses, not just in city government. Each computer has a password, but that's separate from being able to get into City Hall.
So essentially, what you don't have right now is access to be able to go in freely, and then the space.
I don't have access to the copy machine, the records. There is a code that you put in to open the door. I do not have that. I have to ask permission to go in to use the copy machine or to look up some minutes or whatever I'm doing. The only thing I do with administrative staff support is if I have a problem with the copy machine or if I have to call to see what was passed and done at the council meeting, whether I call an employee, I have to call Frank and then I make my changes and call Frank and then I go up and then I have to go through him to go through to Jennifer to make the changes on the agenda and this sort of thing. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
One more question.
One more question.
I'm sorry. Frank, is this going to put any undue burden on your staff?
We talked about it before. I mean, everybody has certain jobs. I mean, the larger we're getting and not necessarily adding any additional staff or anything like that, there's additional duties. Every time council wants to look at something or see something, it has to be broken out to different staff members. And utility billing clerk is doing stuff that's outside her job description from time to time. Jennifer's doing a number of things, especially since we don't have a accounts payable clerk. Just for them to be able to have an opportunity to focus on what they're doing and not necessarily have to interact with everybody that comes through the doors is essential. I do have a concern that it doesn't have anything to do with age. It just has everything to do with being up there by yourself and there being some concern that if something happened to you, you wouldn't, Jerry may know you left at this time, just, did anything happen to you, you've been gone for a while.
That's discrimination.
Yeah.
That's
Number one.
Is it, so if Jennifer goes up and works at City Hall and she's been up there for a while, that's discrimination, sir. Something happens to her.
But it doesn't have anything to do with this.
Because of her age.
No, sir. I'm talking about people being up there by themselves. So typically, what we try and do is work in pairs. So if you come up there, you have somebody there. If something happens, there's somebody there. But no big deal. I mean,
Well, and the other thing that you said was if you require something from the staff, that you were going to require either way.
from staff.
Assistance, if I want to know what was, for instance, if I want to know who submitted something on the agenda, I'm going to ask that whether I have an office there or not.
Sure. And you have, and you haven't prevented from getting anything you need out of the vault using the copy machine. I don't remember you asking for the door to go to the front door, but we can certainly provide that to you. There's just some concern there.
Okay, any more discussion on this item? Once again, we have a motion and a second that went to discussion. I call for the vote. Okay, at this time, we have a motion and a second. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. 3. Opposed? 2. Motion passed. Number 26. Next. The next item that we are going to go to is item number 22. I believe we have covered most of the agenda items.
18.
16 and 20, that was going.
Mayor?
16, 20,
We
18.
don't need
is
to go
here.
into executive session because council has already approved the 3.
Okay, then there is no.
18.
22 or 23. So we go back. Okay, 23, we have item number 16. Consider and take any action necessary pursuant of an agenda request submitted by John Jennings regarding implementation of a policy for city council agenda item submission. I made a notation to this, and it was an agenda request regarding implementation of a policy for city council agenda items submission to be the last Friday of the preceding month by 5 p.m. Request be written and signed and date stamped by city staff. Any request not received by required time would be included in the following month, except for an emergency. I also request that this agenda item be tabled. There was a dispute regarding the way it was presented on the agenda, and after reviewing the packet before, I see that part of the request had been changed from how it was originally submitted, and due to that, I do request that this item be tabled. So moved. I have so moved. Is that a motion?
That means we table.
So moved to table. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a so moved to table this item, and there has been a second. Is there any discussion? And at this time, all of those in favor of tabling this item, please raise your hand. 3 opposed, 1, 2. Passed. Number 18. Number 18, presentation by the Chief of Police regarding the annual racial profiling report.
Mayor, Council, yearly we're required by statute to provide a report to the state and also the governing body regarding racial profiling. That report has already been submitted and provided to the council.
Thank you. I do have a question for you, Chief Barnes. And as I have told you before, I have, if you have watched TV, you have noticed there is a commercial on TV that says a lot of young people get started on drugs in the home. And that is because often you have prescriptions that You don't take all of your prescriptions, so you have all these prescribed pills left, and you can't flush them, you can't put them down the drain, and you have no way to dispose of them. Do you have any plans for a designated day that the citizens of Van Alstyne could turn in these unused prescription drugs?
I know the commercial they're talking about, it's up in Oklahoma. It's an initiative that they started. There is an initiative in Texas. It's once a year that the DEA provides a location for people to bring their used or old prescriptions to a location. I have reached out last week, actually sent them an email asking if we could be a location next year. I haven't got a response yet, so I don't know if it'll be in a larger city, but it's something typically they do every year, once a year, to dispose of used prescription medication. So as soon as I get a response from them, then I'll provide it to the council and the community.
Good, because that's something I really think we need to put in our newsletter when it does become available.
As soon as I get an answer, then I'll give everyone a response.
Thank you very much.
I have a question about racial profiling.
Okay.
On where it says race or ethnicity known prior to stop, and we have 6 yeses. And I was just wondering if you could explain that a little bit.
It may be at an intersection. Basically, it's what it is. If you know what the race is at the time of stop.
So it's not picking someone out?
No, it's if the officer knew at the time of stop of the race, then he checks that on the citation.
Okay, so it's not going after a particular person or persons.
No.
Okay, and then search conducted, you have 96 searches. What would be the reason for a search?
The smell of burned marijuana out of the vehicle, walk up and you see the narcotic in the car, the individual tells you there's drugs in the vehicle. Could be a numerous things, information that you've received, or you've got consent from the occupant or the driver.
Yeah, the reason I'm questioning is because I've had some complaints come to me about a particular person or persons being stopped or followed or searched continuously, and I was just wondering.
Have you directed those individuals to the police department? We have a process in
I
place.
will in the future, but yeah, they just say, hey, an officer
and
or
of course, and if you realize up here too that all of our traffic stops are videoed, and actually our whole shifts are videoed. So we go beyond what the minimum requirements are, and those are held for over 90 days, which is more than what the requirement is by state.
Okay, good. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. We will go to item number 20, schedule the date for regular meeting in March so as not to impede upon school closing for spring break. Do you think they're still living spring break as much as they've been on? Just a question.
They might riot in the street.
What is your recommendation for this, Mr. Becker?
I recommend that we can either move it in the interest of the citizens, council, members that have children currently in school, and staff members, that we move it either in the first week in March or either the third week in March.
If I could add to that, our auditor, she plans to have the audit ready to present to the council in March. She would not be able to make the deadline for the first Tuesday. She would prefer, if you'd like to see it in March, that it be the third Tuesday. Otherwise, it would be April before she's able to present that.
The third Tuesday, as you mostly all know, I am not available because I have a church board meeting that is regularly scheduled, and I am on the board of our church. I cannot be there. I would recommend that we move it either to Monday the 17th or the 24th or the 25th.
What is the third Monday? What is the Monday before the third Tuesday?
17th.
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 What were the other 2 dates?
The 24th or the 25th being available. That's the 4th Monday and Tuesday.
Either Monday the 17th, or if we need it on a Tuesday. It does not, we can change the day as long as, and we can put the notification in the newsletter. So it would not be something that the citizens would not be aware of if it were on the Monday the 17th or a different Tuesday. So there would be no reason that we could not reschedule this that I can see.
One advantage to it being after the regularly scheduled date was that if someone were looking for the meeting on that date, they could be told it's next week. If you move it forward, they might miss it completely, not realizing it had already happened.
Okay, are you talking about Monday the 17th should not be considered, or?
No, because that's after the 11th. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's okay. Monday the 17th could be considered. Okay. Is there any discussion, any further discussion regarding this? Anyone?
What are we?
We're talking.
We determined?
We haven't determined. We're taking discussion right now. I haven't got a motion. Karen has stated that the 3rd Tuesday she would not be available, but on Monday the 17th, which is after the 2nd Tuesday, she would be available. Does anyone on council have a problem with Monday the 17th, which would be following a regularly scheduled meeting?
My Mondays are really loaded. I have to ditch a lot of stuff to try to get a Monday.
Would you prefer the 24th or the 25th, sir?
Yeah, I could do the 25th a lot easier than 17th or 24th.
Okay, you're talking about Tuesday the 25th, which is getting close to April.
Yeah, it would be rolling right into the April meeting if we do it that last week.
Last week. Would Mondays be difficult if we made it at a different time? 7 o'clock or so?
Probably would.
Would that work?
6:30 is hard to make. 7
Okay.
o'clock.
7's fine with me.
If it were Monday the 17th at 7, would that be convenient for you? How about you, Councilman Blake?
I would assume so.
Then?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, then at this time, I will entertain a motion regarding the change of date
In the time.
and time.
Make a motion, we have it on what?
Monday the 7th.
Monday the 17th at 7.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Can we wear green?
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous. It will be changed until Monday the 17th. Item number 27, department reports. We should go down the line. Jennifer? Chief?
Yeah, I know it's a little bit dated, but yet we missed a couple of meetings. So I would like to state that Ashley Kennedy, our court clerk, which y'all may have seen in the newspaper, she was presented the 2013 Executive Award for the North Texas Court Association, which is a great honor to have an employee get that award.
Very good. Chief Smith.
Nothing at this time.
Mike? Do we have a library report?
March the 22nd, if you want to mark the calendars, we're going to help a local citizen launch her first published book. It's a true crime book, and March 22nd at 2 o'clock afternoon at the library. And we'll be talking about that experience and give some money from the sales of it back to the friends in the library.
we'll get a notice on that.
Yeah, I just secured the details this week, so I'll start putting flyers out about a month out or so.
Could I ask you to find a different way to inform council members about your events instead of the envelopes? I got, in my packet this month, I got the invitation to your Christmas party.
Gosh, that was put in your box and mailed them, or?
We don't have access to
We don't have access to the mailboxes.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was my idea to put them in your folders.
I got it today, and I wanted to.
Well, unfortunately, the ice storm canceled the party anyway, so you didn't miss anything. But the Friends of the Library had asked me about mailing them, and I said, well, they all have folders at City Hall, I'll just drop them off, so I'll know that that's not
I have a little
necessarily.
space under my door, and you walk by a couple times a day. There you go.
I'll make that happen. You bet.
Thank you. City manager's report.
Mayor and Council, Allied Waste, who's our current waste provider under contract, sent us notice of increase per their contract. The overall increase is 1.01% to the monthly bill for residents. The current rate that you're being charged, residential is $13.32. It's going to increase to $13.45. That'll occur in this next billing cycle.
No, I only got $1.
Of course, commercial all goes directly through Allied, so you have to contact them to see what that rate of increase would be. Other than that, I briefed you last council meeting about the community center, police department, fire department, metal building behind City Hall. The engineer came back with his follow-up report. It didn't address any issues with PD, nor did it address any of the issues with the roof members over the metal structure that envelops the community center, as well as the fire department bays. So trying to press him for answers, especially on the fire department end. On the police department end, he did amend. But on the fire department end, we sent him pictures with descriptions of exactly what it is we're talking about. He sent back a response that he has the flu. He's not going to be able to get back with us this week. So we're left kind of in limbo at this point. Working with the adjuster to see if we can make a modification and change structural engineers midstream, because that seems like a viable alternative at this point. But that's really where we are.
Thank you very much. Councilman Jaska, did you have any closing comments?
No, ma'am, I think I've said enough.
Councilman Moore?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Clay?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Carver? Nothing. Yes. Sorry, you're not going home.
We got 30 minutes.
I know, it won't take me that long, but there is an incident that has come up, and I wish to discuss it. It pertains to item number 16 that was on our agenda tonight. This was a request that was made by Councilman John Jennings. On January the 2nd, John Jennings sent an email and a request to Frank Baker with copies to myself, Julie Ford, and Jennifer Gould. This was an item for the January 14, 2014 council meeting. It contained 6 items he wanted discussed and approved regarding the council agenda item submission. He asked that the proper request form be sent to him, or if allowable, that Frank fill it out for him. And he could sign it the following week at the workshop meeting on January the 7th. I tell you this because next I received a copy of the draft agenda on January the 8th at 2:38 p.m. I did not see the draft until Thursday the 9th. Since many of the items which were previously listed on the December agenda were moved to a different order than before, I changed them as to stay close to the original order. I also added the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Jennings' item was listed. Discuss and take any action necessary pursuant to an agenda request regarding implementation of a policy for City Council agenda item submission. I am a strong believer in open government and a well-informed public, and I did not feel that this fully notified the public of Mr. Jennings' request, as they would be affected by the changes, especially a portion of number 1 in which the example and day he gave on the original submission, that item submitted for January the 14th, be submitted by Friday, December the 27th. That was 2.5 weeks before the council meeting. I want to remind you that I am not sent a copy of the agenda request with the draft. Although I did and do not agree with the item, I listed it but changed the wording so that it would be more informative. The exact wording I submitted was, discuss and take any action necessary pursuant to an agenda request regarding implementation of a policy for City Council agenda items. Submission to be the last Friday of the preceding month by 5 p.m. Request be written, signed, and then I added, no, you will notice that he also wants that emergencies be approved by the city manager. No reference to the mayor, as I am in charge of the agenda. I took 2 copies of the finished agenda to City Hall on January the 10th at 9:30. I also sent an email to Frank Baker regarding the change. I gave the finished agenda to Jennifer. I was out of town part of that day. When we returned home Friday afternoon, I had 2 emails on my computer. Remember, the agenda packet had at this time not been sent to council. The first email was from Dilly Blake, January the 10th at 4:25 p.m. and stated, I am requesting that an agenda item put on the agenda by John Jennings having to do with how agenda items are processed be put on the agenda as John wrote it and not be changed. And I do have the emails. The second email was from Russell Moore, January the 10th at 4:43. Copies of both emails were sent to Frank Baker by the senders. Mr. Moore's email stated, please put the attached agenda request in its exact verbiage and without change as originally requested. My first thought was, how does 2 council members know about the agenda item, how it was written, and then added to since the agenda had not been delivered? I called City Hall only to learn that Frank was not in. I called his cell but got no answer. I sent him 2 emails. When you return to the office today, please call. I have received emails from Billy Blake and Russell Moore. I assume they received their information regarding the agenda from you since the packets have not gone out. This is about John Jennings' agenda item and the explanation to the general public. If I have to change the agenda item, I will make the announcement as to the reason at the council meeting. And that it was an attempt to let the public know what changes would affect them. I expect to hear from you before the packets go out. Mayor Sally. When Mr. Baker called, I asked how even Mr. Jennings knew about the agenda item. He stated that Mr. Jennings had requested that he be notified when I returned the agenda so he could see his item, if it was listed and how. That is when I learned that Frank had sent him an agenda copy, which I submitted it to City Hall. I also learned that Frank had changed the agenda item. Number 22 at that time, it was number 22 at that time, was listed as Mr. Jennings had requested, and he had made my explanation a separate item following John's item. I stated that it was ridiculous to have 2 items on one subject. I told him that he could leave Mr. Jennings' request as Frank had listed it, but with a note following it with my explanation. Frank stated that he would call the attorney and see if that could be done. Later that afternoon, the packets were delivered. On Monday, January the 13th, I called Mr. Smith and Mrs. Tuber to see if they had received any information regarding Mr. Jennings' agenda. Neither council members had any knowledge of what I was talking about before they received their agenda packet. I wanted to know if it was legal for council members 3 to confer on an agenda item, for the city manager to change an agenda submitted by the mayor. I wanted to know if there was a legal action regarding this issue. At that time, I contacted our attorney. She informed me attached to section 22.038 of the local government code that we discussed. I understand that your interpretation of the law is not the same as mine and will be glad to discuss it further. I always encourage the elected officials I serve to report violations of the Open Meetings Act to the district attorney if they have reason to believe a violation of the Open Meetings Act or any other law has happened. If you believe a violation has occurred, I encourage you to report it to the district attorney's office. They are the one with the enforcement powers. She also gave me this law regarding the Open Meetings Act, and she quoted Government Code or Section 22.038, paragraph B, which reads, "The mayor may call a special meeting on the mayor's own motion and shall call a special meeting on the application of 3 aldermen. Each member of the governing body, the secretary and the municipal attorney, must be notified of the special meeting." This was not a special meeting, even though this was the law I was quoting. "The notice may be given personally or left at the person's usual place of residence." According to Julie, 1 member can talk to other members, which can amount to 3, about what they want on an agenda as long as they don't discuss how they're going to vote or what their thoughts are. You know, it occurred to me that, number 1, I couldn't believe that there was an objection to a change that would inform the public more of what was going on by the council. And it does not seem right. Also, I looked it up. The item that was submitted was not the original items that was submitted. And in the beginning, Mr. Baker was asked to write the agenda item. I think that it has gotten to the point where sometimes we get so petty with small things that really don't amount to all of this. When you get to the point that if you don't like something because you don't like a person because they don't agree with you, or that you don't think that should be, this is wrong. If I had my way, I would have the power to make everyone on this council, myself included, pledge to do the work, to do their best together, and to set aside their differences, their dislikes, their 2 to 3, anything of this sort, that we could work, and whether it's an office in City Hall or not, I think it's time that we work together to turn Alstyne into a positive city. We are known as something negative, and it's time this town turned around. I like open government, I like well-informed public, and I will strive to do that. And I would like in the future to see this council, all of the members, and the staff work toward us doing with a positive outlook and something that people, when they come to Alstyne, would feel like that not only do we just love this town, but we are here to provide a service, and that is to the people, and that is what I would like to see us do in the future, and do it with an open mind and not a negative one. Those are my comments. I do have one more comment, and that the last day for the council to order an item to be placed on the ballot for May is February the 28th. I was advised by the attorney on this. At this time, I will accept a motion that we adjourn.
February 28th?
That's the date I was given, yes.
If the meeting is going to be the 24th or the 17th?
February the 28th.
February
March. February.
Yeah, but our meeting is March 17th.
The last day for the council to order an item to be placed on the ballot.
Oh, on the ballot.
I'm sorry if I misread that. It's for May. It's February 28th.
Yeah.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second it.
We have a motion to adjourn and second. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. We are officially adjourned at 9:45. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Robin.
In fact, the majority of people, tell me majority. So who am I voting for? Who am I supporting? The majority, or am I voting supporting Pat Patterson?
You don't really get
You work for somebody comes in record. You do it.
She's keenly aware.
Give it You have good roads.
I know.
I think that was it. That little
It's going to be
I will.
Billy.
Yes. Next time I will come
One down, ready to go.
when you see it, I have said, but that doesn't change your mind. It's a little different than on this side. This is been planted on that side.
Thank you, sir. Never said it.
Good night.
Actually, we just scored 6 we just right down there. He was by doing that. All the time, so he died when I just take a look at it. Yeah, I just told them that always when we find the younger guy, they came through. That's what I'm trying to say. Amen. That's your first meeting. I haven't heard that about Phil. Well, I made that from people to school.
Karen and
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, things that I've heard, if they want to play the weekend, it's at the free. Well, no, I was going older age, 4 and 5 blocks, the rest of the blocks.
this is John. There you go. Everything's done. Is it done?
Sometimes all of them,
I will get that after the chamber breakfast.
Sherman's not quite that more smooth, because they got some inner city.
If it's not too icy.
That meeting, they didn't vote us in.
It's in the morning.
I know, I'm going to
Be there if it's not too icy. Yes, too. That's fine.
Well, the other thing was,
Exciting meeting.